when you put on restrictions. Like, I know that there's a few animes that are specifically like, hey, let's just have one room. That was really interesting. Just perpetually have the characters in a singular room and just have stuff related to that room each episode.
My favorite thing to grow from restriction is Dan Versus.
Oh, yes.
Dan Versus was on a kid's family network. Like, it was on the Hub. It was where My Little Pony was showing. But the entire series is about a jaded, bitter man getting revenge at the world. If that was, and the type of humor it had would fit more at home on like Adult Swim or like TBS. But if it was on either of those, it would be really like raunchy and crass, and it wouldn't be as funny. It's really funny because they have to make it kind of more childish. And that restriction makes it more witty and more interesting.
Yeah, same thing with Ren and Stimpy versus Ren and Stimpy Adult Party.
Yeah, the Adult Party one is awful compared to original Ren and Stimpy.
It is atrocious. Yeah, no.
The restriction forces them to be way more creative, and it's so much better as a result.
Yeah, not to mention, and you know that also isn't saying that this isn't going like the old cartoons are better than new ones. There's some really good modern cartoons.
Of course.
Also, if we're also just talking about like, okay, do you want some weird pet? You know what's a big pet peeve of mine?
What's that?
When something gets adapted from like a comic book or like manga and they completely change the genre.
Oh yeah.
That's a wild twist.
Twist.
But one of the most atrocious ones to me is Rosary Plus. The manga was really fucking good. It is phenomenal. It is this amazing look into what is human, and it had a lot of really dark moments. And then there's the anime, which is just a titty anime.
It's a generic harem porn anime.
Yes!
Someone say titty?
So bad.
Yeah, no, it's like they turned.
You had something and you.
Yeah.
I wonder what would lead to that decision.
I don't know. And I hate it. Also, the fact that they gave one of the best girls to Side Boy is just like, what? Like, I also like that, at least in the manga, there are genuine reasons for all the women to like the main character. It's not just, because he's main character! Oh. No, there are general build-up and lead-up to... Anyways. Enough talking about that.
Sexual depth. Let's see. I think we're just missing MCM and Luis. We can go ahead and start though. And,
Okay.
I mean, well, because again, I didn't set the expectation for having honorable mentions, but I guess I might as well just get them out of the way if we have them. But first, introduction shenanigans, I suppose. Hopefully the audio is fine too. Howdy, whoever's watching. Welcome to another Shenanigans. Sorry if things are somewhat unorthodox, starting at an unusual time. I'm tired as frick. But the homie Papercut gave a few ideas of stuff that people want to go over. Today we're going to talk about some of our favorite video game stories or plots. Kind of like with the bosses one. I figured the way we go about it is just talking about what our favorite video game plots are, and if it's a game of like considerable popularity, or if it's a game that's anyone voices that they do have interest in, we will avoid spoilers. If it's a game that we can conclude that no one really seems to care about spoilers, you guys can feel free to elaborate on the stories. But then again, I figure there's some things that would get listed that you probably would want people to play, so you probably don't want to spoil it. Like, I know
Yes.
Tim's actually mentioned a particular game that I eventually want to play.
Yep.
And Tim, you've usually emphasized that the plot twist is one of the like main things about it that makes it so good.
Yep.
So for example, a story like that you probably don't want to spoil. But like with the bosses, just verbally confirm whether or not it's something that you care about spoilers. We'll go from there. Mostly everyone's here, but we can just go down the list and see if any of you did have honorable mentions. We can just hammer them out real quick. Starting with the homie. David, are you here? You ready?
Yes. Just one moment, please. I'll be ready in about 10 seconds, okay?
Yeah, no worries. Esteban, did you have any honorable mentions that you know weren't going to be on your list?
Bro, I barely have a top 5. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm good.
Alrighty. Crow, any honorable mentions?
I mean, if I'd put anything in honorable mentions, I'd put one of the things that I removed just from the list of just lore rich rather than story driven, if that makes sense. Like any games where like the big story elements are something you have to put together rather than something that naturally happens.
Oh, gotcha.
So if we were doing something like that, I'd definitely put Darkest Dungeon. But as that is most of the lore is something you have to piece together, it's not something that is in your face.
Kind of like
So,
Dark
like-
Souls does too, with all the lore
yeah,
being
yeah.
stuff you got to piece together from items or NPCs, rather than story elements happening around you.
Yes, exactly. There's no real like main game story elements until the very end.
That makes sense.
Gotcha.
Basically the main So the final boss is one of the big story twists and like an explanation for what's really happening. I won't go into that, but yeah.
Okay.
So
Go ahead.
So yeah, that's more of a bookended with story, and there's lore throughout. But yeah.
Okay. Any other ones?
That's the only real one that I would put on this list. Again. So.
In fact, that kind of makes me think of a I have something that would maybe be honorable mention, but it's something that I'd probably consider if I actually played the mobile game. I'll get to that later. Tim, do you have any honorable mentions?
Before that, Paper Cut's back.
Oh, David, mahalo. Honorable mentions?
I
Can you hear
swear
me?
to.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so honorable mention. I have several. So the first honorable mention I'm going to say, this is in no particular order. Red Dead Redemption 2.
Red
Okay.
Dead Redemption. Oh, how do you? Okay. Dude, there we go.
Yeah.
Red Dead
Um,
Redemption 2.
The second honorable mention I have is a Heavy Rain.
Heavy Rain. Ooh boy.
I haven't heard about that game in a while.
Yeah.
Sean.
The third honorable mention I have is Tekken 4.
Tekken 4. Actually, yeah, you mentioned the lore for Tekken 4 before too.
Yeah, I figured it was worth stating. It's there are 5 other games that I think are better than Tekken 4 story, but I figured it was good. It was worth mentioning. Next one I have is Mortal Kombat Deception.
I'll spell the whole thing. Combat Deception. Luis might have a word on that when he gets here.
And then
Any others?
yes, 2 more. Detroit Become 3 more. Detroit Become Human.
Yo. Overall, that is still a game that I very much surprisingly liked.
Connor was the best part.
Oh.
He is. Connor's the greatest.
Huh, I just remembered another thing that I might put in honorable mention for the same, like, lore but not plot reasons. Tyranny.
Wait, what?
Tyranny.
Like,
Tyranny.
Okay, thank you. I had to think about it.
It is a game where you're playing an evil, like, a dictator's henchman. And, you actually have interactions with the people who will gain fear and or respect. The two are not mutually exclusive. Somebody can absolutely fear your presence, but respect the shit out of you, which I just think is an interesting idea. It also has a wonderful system where they'll talk about lore events, and if you right-click on green text, which is how it's indicated that it's a lore, it will bring up basically a paragraph about what happened.
Dang, that's actually kind of sick.
Yeah, no, it's super fun. The party members are great, they have great interactions, and overall it's a wonderful game. The only thing that happened to it is it's a bit rushed, so the end of the game is a little forced. But other than that, I adore the game. Adore it to pieces, but I cannot rightfully, because of the rushed ending, and because a lot of the details are story related, are like lore related. Yeah. Oh, the other thing that's nice is the introduction to the game is actually really customizable, and everything that you do during the intro will affect your game quite drastically. Entire events and sequences can change depending on what you do.
Decisions actually matter.
I remember, like, there are some maps that drastically change. Yeah. It's super fun.
Oh, and David, did you have any others?
Yes, I had two more.
Go ahead.
What was that?
Or no, go ahead.
Okay, so the second to last one I have is Resident Evil 7.
Hey. That one was real good.
Yeah, it was a really good story. No spoilers, but in my opinion, Resident Evil 8, in my opinion, the story did fall short, and the game was still pretty good, but it did fall short. That's just my opinion, though. Everybody has different tastes, so
I still
some
need
people
to
might
finish
disagree with me.
watching Resident Evil 8 playthrough, but it's definitely seems like it has mixed opinions, or people more so like the gameplay aspect of 8. That's what I've heard so far.
I love the gameplay for it.
And again, I'm someone that loves or overall enjoyed Resident Evil 6, so like don't listen to me when it comes to Resident Evil.
Well, I mean, like, you're not wrong for liking 6. It's just I think the level design didn't compensate for much of that game for the mechanics.
Yeah, because that was like 6 was my introduction to actually playing Resident Evil and even caring about it.
No, I can get it. That's also because it's your home game. Your opinion is based off of it. That would be like... That's like all those people who started with Naruto instead of good anime.
Dang, we're going there.
I'm surprised you don't choose an easier punching bag like
Damn,
SAO.
that was just
You
like...
go
that's one
for the
someone-
throat with a hot take one, not SAO.
Literally,
You go with
someone's
Naruto.
lucky.
Yeah, see, that's how you know you're picking the right fight. You start off with something big.
Like you say that about SAO, and everyone's like, alright. Even the SAO fans are like, I'm used to this. But
Yeah.
like, you're punching Naruto. Damn.
Naruto is...
And the bravery.
I hear Bort like stuff all the time. I haven't heard Naruto stuff in a while.
Yeah, well, I mean, because Naruto as a whole is like... I don't know. It's... Naruto's a wild series.
But, to me, it's in an awkward place where it's not quite serious enough to be, like, super enjoyable, but it isn't jokey enough to be enjoyable that way.
kinda
it's sort
does
of
have that
stuck
weird
in the middle.
ground.
Yeah,
I mean,
which
at
is
least
why I
Naruto-
personally dislike it.
I mean, at least Naruto doesn't like crash and burn like Bleach does. For as much as
Oh,
I love-
fuck yes.
for as much as I
Hey.
love Bleach,
It's okay. The anime is gonna be the redemption. It's fine.
no, don't even.
It's time to be
Don't
original,
even-
boys.
No, it's the 1,000-year blood arc.
And this
My
is
favorite
Kubo's
part of
chance
Bleach
to
was
actually
when we-
finish things.
My favorite part of Bleach was when they went to the Baker house in Resident Evil 7.
Jesus.
But yeah.
Now
but
we're talking about
for-
anime. I'm sorry, David. What's your other? What's your
Tangents.
other mentions? Yeah.
Okay.
They-
Go ahead, David.
So the last honorable mention I have is Watch Dogs 1.
Oh, the first one.
Yeah.
Watch
Yeah, the first one.
Dogs.
No, I can see that.
We don't talk about the
Never-
second one, story-wise.
I have not played it, but I can see why people would like it. The overall vibe of the story seems fine. Like, seems good.
Definitely seems like a different direction, but that's another game where I hear more about the gameplay than the story.
I also just came up with 2 more honorable mentions for the same reason as the previous 2. Blasphemy and Bloodstained.
Like those are the
Blasphemous. Sorry, Blasphemous.
Is that how you spell blasphemous?
And nope, incorrect. Hold on, let me get you.
No, I think that's pretty good. At least for the word.
B
not the
L
title.
A S P H E U or yeah.
Wait.
They did this fuck up. They did this fucked up like topography thing.
Blasphemous.
The kind of thing where it has a weird freaking font.
Or sorry, that's an M, not a U. Fuck. And then it's
Oh, it actually came up as a
blasphemous. Face or mouse.
Blasphemous.
That's what you're
Okay.
saying. I feel like I'm hearing.
Yeah,
Last
yeah,
of Us.
blasphemous. Blasphemous.
There we
It's
go.
really fun.
I think I'm-
Basically, you're playing as almost a like you're basically starting. There's like this weird cult that has taken over an entire city, and you're basically being the Luther to the Catholic Church of that world.
Oh,
Um,
frick.
and everything's blood and swords and death, and it's really fun. And
Yeah,
it's like
the first description
it's-
here is a brutal action platformer with skilled hack and slash combat.
it is so much fun.
That's
The
actually-
best way that I can describe it is take all of the negative aspects of Catholicism and remove all of the positive aspects. So it's just, you need to repent, you are awful, you are filthy, you are disgusting.
Ah, Warhammer 40k.
Yeah, basically it's Warhammer. And the last one is Bloodstained, which I assume you've heard of.
Like blood.
Stage Ritual of the Night?
Yeah, Ritual of the Night, yep.
Is it specifically
The indie
And it's stained like
Oh,
glass.
there we go.
It is that is another wonderful game.
I can't take Zangetsu seriously with David Hayter voicing him.
Obviously
Like-
another one is Hatred. Just kidding. No, don't.
I mean, his name is not important.
His name is not important. But yeah. I think that's about it. Unless I think of some more later. I might have random epiphanies of like, oh yeah, that game.
That happens to me a lot during
Yeah,
these streams.
that's typically the flow of it. In fact, there's still some other peeps that need to show up, so things will probably come to mind in the meantime. Esteban doesn't have any. Tim, what's your honorable mentions?
I have 4.
Cool.
My first honorable mention is Catherine.
Yo.
Catherine! Yes!
That with a K or with a C?
Well, the game is with the C, but my
No,
choice is with the K.
No, it's Q, the unlockable Catherine.
Oh, yes,
that comes
Catherine.
later.
The one that's in
Dude.
full body.
I will
Oh, wait,
forever.
that's supposed to be like. That's
No.
supposed to be the. Well, I won't say anything. Actually.
So, like,
Well,
that's why,
yeah,
that's
don't
part of
talk
why
about
I have
spoilers
Catherine
yet,
as an honorable
but-
mention for this, is because I have not played Full Body yet. I have it on
Oh,
Switch, I
okay.
just haven't played it yet.
You gotta
So
play
the thing-
full body.
I know I need to play Full Body.
I'm gonna
because-
forever joke about this because, like, you guys have heard Anna and Jen on our streams before. We literally joked about this. Like, the moment Full Body was revealed, we were saying, yo, it's Quathrin with a Q.
And then guess what?
It is freaking... It's another
It's
cat.
Rin.
It's
Whose
Rin.
full name is
Joking?
Quathrin. That's it. There's a third girl named Rin, which is short for Quathrin.
Like, I'm really glad. I'm really glad they made Full Body though.
Full
was,
Body I've heard is amazing. But
a joke.
that's
No,
the biggest reason
it's
why
serious.
Catherine OG is in an honorable mention. Because to me, Catherine OG is a great story. The way the gameplay merges into this general theme of order versus chaos and has all the different endings depending on how hard you pick a side, including the best ending of if you do pure middle ground neutral, you bet a bunch of money on women's wrestling, win, and use that money to go to space.
That's yeah.
Of course.
Honestly, that doesn't even count as a spoiler because that is one of the like.
It's one of like
Such a-
10 endings, and it's the
Yeah,
coolest
it's-
one. The true neutral.
Such a
I don't need
wild
women. I'm
neutral
going to
ending.
space.
Fuck y'all!
I was a sucker for the good true ending.
Same.
I simped hard for Catherine with the K. I am a simple, boring man who will dedicate his time to his wife.
Well, it's funny you
Hold
brought
up,
up
she's
Catherine.
like-
I'll
You got
elaborate
glasses
on it
though.
later.
That's not bad.
I have glasses though.
Damn, we got
Yeah,
the
but do you like-
Meganicon up in here.
Yeah, but do you like a girl with glasses? That's a better question.
I like the girl behind the glasses.
Yeah, but
That's the
like,
correct answer.
But
Oh my.
yeah, Catherine, good game. I need to play Full Body, which is why I have OG
Um,
as an honorable mention because
very
I
much.
want to see
Well-
what's different in Full Body.
I bought.
And I have to say though, when it comes to girls with glasses, there are some glasses on some girls that look phenomenal. Like if you have like a very like commanding woman with like certain pairs of glasses, that looks fucking
like,
amazing.
Or like businessy
Cool shade.
glasses, or like giant
Yes,
circle
yes,
glasses.
like a command. Like I can't describe it, but it's just like, you know, like
She's
certain.
gonna take that heel and dig into your fucking neck. What's she gonna do?
Hell yes.
I knew this was gonna go.
Yeah, I
for
hope
step
she
on
kills me
my
instantly.
territory. But I'm glad you brought this up, Tim. I'll elaborate more on it later. But what's your next one?
What?
No, not the step
Not
on
the
me, mommy.
glasses
I'm
murder thing.
No, I'm talking about Catherine. Gosh.
But
Damn, is this something you have? You're not telling
Yes,
us,
we'll
Ronald?
talk about Crow dying.
talk about
instantly
shoving heels in
later.
your next later. What's your next game?
Oh my gosh. Gosh. Your next honorable mention.
So my next game is kind of a cop-out answer because it's not a game. It is the Zero Escape series.
Oh, no, they're okay.
I have this as a cop-out answer because the problem I have with trying to pick a Zero Escape game to put in my top 5 is a mixture of I can't decide between the first two, and the third one is hilarious.
I would also like to state that the version of the game that I played was the first two as a singular game.
Yeah, the Nonary games.
Yeah,
Should
yeah.
I just
So
put
that
one,
could be
two,
it.
three?
You could put Nonary games, or yeah.
And I would put the
and I do
Nonary
believe that they
games,
were released as a
but there's
trilogy.
stuff that
like-
ZTD does that matters. And as the series as a whole, like, I have a hard time really deliberately grabbing just one. I love
Oh,
the
yeah, no,
series.
no,
It
I'll
is
just
one
say
of my
series.
big favorites, but
That's
I
also
have a hard
sister
time
game
saying
design
I like
Rumble.
one over the other, and then I have a hard time factoring in how much I like the first two for their story with how much I laugh at the third one for being really funny.
As well as you also need to factor in nostalgia, frankly.
Yep. Well,
Um,
I didn't play them originally either. I played them as the Nonary games as well.
Well, even then, I'm only 21, so I was fairly,
That's fair.
you know.
Yeah,
But yeah, Zero Escape series is mad good. Play them, but I have a hard time picking one as a personal favorite.
Yeah, I just put series.
Oh, yeah, no, I completely get you.
The next honorable mention will be because of what we had talked about. It's gonna be Gatawa Shoujo.
Okay.
And I
Oh,
will say
definitely.
now, you can turn off the 18+ scenes. In fact, I would say doing so
I
doesn't take
would
away much from
encourage
the
it.
game.
Can you
Is
spell
that
this?
the
Oh
one
yeah,
with
no,
the
absolutely.
Like,
is that the one with the paraplegics?
yes, it is a 4chan visual novel about dating crippled girls.
That's
Wait a
bad.
minute.
Look at
Use
Power
the
Shoujo
C word,
memes.
don't use the C word.
Wait, is
Not
that
bad.
is that that one? Nick, is this the game
Shizune.
I'm thinking of?
Shizune.
Shizune?
Yes.
It's
No, like,
its genre
No,
is
spell the title.
it's
Spell the title for me.
It's the game, Ronald.
K-A-T-A-W-A
uh,
space S-H-O-U-J-O.
It's the game, Ronald.
It is the game. Yeah. Okay. Gosh dang it, Nick.
Shizune. Best girl.
I
Emmy Best Girl.
it is incredible. Like I love it.
When you
I have
hear
not
that
finished it.
description of it was made by 4chan anons and that's what the subject matter is, the gut reaction is, oh no, this is gonna be terrible. But when you
No, but
actually play it,
as somebody,
it's really moving.
like
Listen,
as somebody who has somebody has a few disabilities, like how they handled like the autistic character was really good.
Yes. As another person with autism, I agree entirely.
Yeah.
It is phenomenally done. The way they handle both physical and like mental or emotional disabilities are phenomenal. And the characters are all genuinely moving.
I
It is
need a
incredible.
reminder. Who was autistic?
Misha?
Oh,
Misha?
Isn't she?
yeah,
She has
pink
something
hair.
else, I don't remember.
Pink hair and
Yeah, that's
you know
Misha.
Shizu's minion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's Misha.
I guess I forgot.
Shizu.
Does the game outright mention it, or is it just implied?
It is heavily implied.
Okay, that's why I'm not recalling.
As well as, you know, as somebody who's autistic, you can occasionally just be like, "Oh, you are too."
I,
But
Hell yeah.
the game's fantastic. Absolutely 10 out of 10. All the characters are really compelling. I think it's very well written. I think the music's nice. I adore this game. Phenomenal.
From what Nick
I can't
described,
believe
you guys
4chan made me cry.
I can't believe 4chan made me cry. Gosh.
Clearly Kenji is best girl.
Kenji's the greatest. He's here to
you
protect
know
us
what's
from the
funniest?
conspiracy.
You know what's funny though? I don't think I've ever met two people that have played this game and have had the same best girl.
You know? I just
know-
thought about it. I was like, who are the friends I got to play this? Hold on. Crow,
Like-
who's your favorite?
Oh, Hanako.
Okay, then that's the only person I know that has. That's one girl I now know that has two favorite people.
Yeah,
Because
okay.
the
Yeah,
the
that's
other
the same
friends I've
thing.
introduced the game to,
Hanako, okay,
their favorites are
you-
Lily.
Oh yeah, no. Basically, I only really don't like Suzume.
Yeah, and
Alright.
she's the divisive one. People
Yes,
either
she
love or
is,
hate her.
But I like her. I like her dad.
don't particularly.
That's
no,
really
you
funny.
need to understand. I like her from like a storytelling aspect, but like, eh.
Yeah, she's a
What?
fun character, but not a waifu.
What
are
don't you
the
like about
odds?
her?
I adore, but yeah, no, I adore Hanako, Lily, Rin.
Well, I'll
Um,
tell you why. I
Emmy and
like-
Rin top two. My favorite.
I'll tell you why I like Shizune so much. It's because there are some things about her that you could say make her seem like a shitty person or a shitty character. But the problem is that I unfortunately can relate to those experiences in my life of being like that myself.
And
so,
yep, that kind of personal connection matters. That's part of why
why-
I feel the way I do for the
But,
two
like-
characters I like. There's personal things
and
the
like
game struck with
having
me.
gone through those kinds of struggles myself, I can tell she's written in a way where she is struggling with guilt from it too, and that's
Mhm.
what makes me like her a lot. The
This-
characters in that game are written so good.
This is
like, I
yeah,
cannot-
you know what,
No,
if this
it's
is
phenomenal.
nothing else to say about this game, like seriously, like you would not expect like a 4chan visual novel to be this human.
I really
And this
Oh
is
yeah,
already-
no, I was.
Like
I was
everyone I
fully
know
expecting-
who's played it has been like, I felt like a personal connection to this.
I-
Like it's very well
fully.
done.
Okay, fully. I was expecting like Tower Girls or Fatal, and what I got
Oh,
was
no,
completely
no.
different.
When I hear Fatal, I think of Scary Thing.
And yes, Ronald.
Yeah, no,
I think of circumferences, and I don't want to roll for those.
And yes, Ronald.
I am not. I am not endorsing that at all. I just occasionally like to bring it up to make people uncomfortable. It's
Well,
it's
you've
a weapon that I
succeeded.
use at
Mission
everybody
accomplished. What's the next step in your master plan?
Dear.
Anyways,
uh,
Kao Shoujo, absolutely play it. Great game.
I have though. Tower Girls is another 4chan project that's pretty good.
The last of
And
my
it's
honorable
actually got-
mentions
Oh,
is
go
the
ahead.
game Ronald briefly mentioned of Star Ocean Till the End of Time. One of my all-time favorite games. I love it. Its plot is really good. It has some major twists in it that are absolutely perfectly done and puts the game in different perspectives. That's really good. I believe it was a PS2 game that I believe is available on like the PSN store on PS4.
Yeah,
I highly
no one
recommend
spoil
it.
this game because I still want to get.
Oh,
I need to
If
go. to
you
the
like
sea
early
game.
2000s anime space aesthetic, along with a combat system that lets you do sick combos and cancel special moves into special moves, play it. It's fantastic.
Okay. I just got hit with a wave of like, oh yeah, I remember these games now of honorable mentions.
That's what I figured.
Okay, first up, Yuppie Psycho.
Yuppies. Wait, what? Yuppie. Is it spelled how it sounds?
It's a horror game that's taking place in an office
Oh dear.
Wow.
and is really good. Now,
Also, I forgot.
I-
No, sorry. Go ahead.
Now.
I'm typing.
Misao.
Wait, what?
Misao.
Oh. Is this a game
The
of-
game also made by the same person as Mad Father, which is another
This one,
honorable mention. Hold on. Yes,
Okay,
Misao.
I remember this game.
Yeah, I fucking love it. Then Mad Father, if you haven't put that down yet. IB.
Freaking Ib. Oh boy. Dang, now I'm getting some flashbacks here.
I also would like to point out that these are my childhood games that I'm listing right now.
That's
Um,
a bit concerning.
Let's see. Oh god, what else?
What was I going to put?
Mogeko Castle.
I remember you talking about that one.
What? You regret me talking about this?
I said I remember, but we can go with that too.
Is that how you spell it? Okay, Castle. Oh, Mogeko Castle. Okay.
Mogeko. And then Watano Hara and the Great Blue Sea. These are also childhood games.
All right, you're concerning me even more now. Wait, how do you spell it?
Wata no Hara. D-
Dang, your honorable mention is getting massive. I wonder what's in your top 5.
I just was saying it. I said earlier, mostly artsy fartsy games.
Gotcha. Also, give me a moment. In fact, those of you watching the stream, you probably noticed it disappear from the bottom right. I had an idea for a silly sub goal, but I legit can't remember what it was. So you know what? I'm just gonna do it later. Were there any other?
I have a recommendation. Perhaps you have to play perhaps a round of Orange with the MS Paint mod, and the Google Translated.
And actually, in fact, that's how I'll leave it.
I want to see what happens with that combination of things.
OJ. There we go. Let's just do that. For those who don't know, I just changed the sub goal to just random stuff to see if people actually pay attention. Oh wait, I did that wrong. Well, frick. Anyways,
But,
did you have any more? Do we keep going? Then again, for the sake of
Oh, by the way,
Probably should
just for reference, Danganronpa 1 and 2 are also childhood games for me.
Bro, what the frick?
I was left alone with the internet. Off.
What is
OFF.
considered childhood for you? What age range?
Even if you're talking about in your
until,
adolescence, I'm still concerned.
I want to say to like 15.
Yeah, like mid-adolescence.
I will tell you right now, yeah.
Gosh dang.
Danganronpa when I was 13.
Did you guys see when I put in Discord about this student that I saw had a Junko icon?
Yeah,
You
you
were
talking
like,
about
what's wrong with this generation?
That's
I didn't play
okay.
Danganronpa until 16, so at least.
I legitimately met a Kazuichi kitty who decided to throw up on somebody's shoes to get revenge.
What the frick?
godlike.
Get dabbed on, man.
Oh my god.
Now,
Okay,
again,
I just gotta
that was a
say,
power.
in the big long list of reactions to that statement, Godlike was not anywhere remotely near the top half of what I expected.
Well, you know
I
what?
mean, that
There
is
were
a
things up there
fucking
that were like
power
of
move.
good, or of like, wow, good job, but Godlike was
I
not
mean,
anywhere
that
near
is a
there.
fucking power move.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have to get this phrase on a t-shirt, but sick nasty. There you
No,
go.
that's not. Never
Um,
mind. Oh gosh. dang.
That's quite literal. It is
That's a
pretty
little
sick
too
nasty.
Again, this is not to say, like, I'd say that that's a pretty big power level, but one of the hardest flexes somebody ever did to me was look me in the eyes, tear up my favorite Pokemon card, and eat it.
Bro, why would you do? Who would do that? That's so monstrous.
That's. I need to call the police.
I mean, I had
That's
to respect him.
weird. Don't. What?
You know what's gonna do to your
I was
stomach?
upset, but
I
that was a
wouldn't know
fucking
how to-
power move.
Yeah, I feel like I'd be more confused than upset. I'd be like, should I call somebody? Why?
Do you need medical attention?
You might after eating a Pokemon card. Nick, do you have any honorable
Who fucking knows what dyes they use?
That's why. Oh my gosh. People are freaking wild. Nick, do you have any honorable mentions? We need to move on.
Yes, because I'll go over my criteria for my list again for the stream.
Oh!
Context.
Is that my rule for my list that I self-imposed on myself that actually made it kind of hard to think about was that I could not put into my actual main top 5 visual novels or games where the story is completely conveyed through a side visual novel, which is pretty much Guilty Gear, Blaze Blue. To
Yeah,
a point, uni.
Guilty Gear.
Oh, please.
Like, so I'm basically axing out games that don't make an attempt to mix the story into the main portion of the gameplay of the game. So, a lot of games got axed that I consider among my favorites because they're visual novels, and this is where they get put into honorable mentions in some of my games because and they are at least loosely ordered. So my number 1, well, should I go backwards? I have 5 honorable mentions. Should I go from 5th honorable mention to 1?
I guess we can do that.
5th place honorable mention for me is Hyperdimension Neptunia 2, Rebirth 2, or Mark 2, whatever one you want to play. The story is the same. And I mean, again, the story is not that serious, but like, it's just fun. I put it in there because I like the series.
Eventually try the game out.
Next one is how should I say it? Valhalla is the simple way to put it. VA-11 Hall dash
Space
A.
future waifu bartender.
Yeah, I forgot the
waifu
official
bartending works,
spelling.
Waifu bartending works.
On the game, never really played it.
VA-11 Hall dash A.
Funny spelling. Okay.
Cyberpunk, you gotta respect it. It's actually like a government assigned name, like the VA-11. It's like something assembly 11 Hall A, but like obviously for sake of universe, it just conveniently happens to spell out a catchy name. So there's that. The next one.
Well,
Like having to go get your ID 10T forms.
Danganronpa 2.
Danganronpa 2 specifically. Also, in the chat, I'm gonna take this opportunity
Yeah, I'm only
to
choosing one game
show
per
my
series.
homie's Valhalla video from a few years ago. Follow his channel. I don't know if he's gonna keep making more content. but
Yeah, I'm only picking one game per series. You know, I have a lot of 2s in this list and my main list. Damn.
Don't get wrong.
Sequels are good, man.
Well, to be completely fair, yeah, no, 2 is usually when they, like, find their feet, but they don't fuck it up. I mean, like Disgaea 2.
Trilogies are hard to make.
Fair.
Also, Shrek 2.
How many Shreks in total are there again?
4.
4?
And the
Isn't
only
Shrek
one that's
2
bad is
one of
3.
the alright ones? Yeah, I was about to say.
1 is good,
yeah,
2 is good, 3 is awful, 4 is good.
Okay,
Why is
3
3
is
awful?
not
I was just
fucking
wondering
mess,
why.
and I love it.
4
alright.
is amazing because it just decides to have fun with the series.
Oh yeah, no, 4 is a fucking mess. It feels like a fan fiction, and it's great.
Yeah, because they sell it like that. It's perfect.
Yeah.
And then 3's alright, but yeah.
Compared to the other
rest
ones,
of the
it's
series,
clearly
no.
lacking.
3 is just 2, but worse.
Yeah, well, my thing with 3 is it felt like everything that happened in 3 didn't. Most of it didn't.
You ever
matter.
watch a movie of a cartoon and it feels like instead of a movie you just watched 3 episodes back to back? That's Shrek 3.
That's yeah.
All the
Yeah.
plot lines in Shrek 3 feel like they could be like shorts.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
it was
it
odd.
also feels
Alright.
like,
Alright.
and it's not even like the fucking Looney Tunes ones where they like have a little like, you know, the old Looney
That's
Tunes
all
movie where it's
fun.
literally just several episodes taped together.
Yeah.
Alright. So, my next
Yeah, we're about to
one.
go on for 8 tangents. What's your next one?
Yeah.
That's why we
And
have 5 hours
for
to
all
do
I
this.
know, if I came back to this list in a year, the second game in this series might top the first one for me. But I've only played the first game so far, Ace Attorney.
Don't let me talk about that series, because people will get mad.
I was gonna say don't spoil it, I guess, because I mean, I need to play it anyway. Apparently I should.
You're gonna,
play it
what do you?
I
you're gonna
barely
beat
know the
Danganronpa,
series, and
you-
I'm going to say 100% Edgeworth is totally gay.
Totally.
Actually, I have an inherent bias for that because of my friends. So I honestly don't know anything about him. I just see a bunch.
There is some very
Uh,
strong energy in the dialogue between him and Phoenix. Like, very intentionally, they wanted people to think this.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
no.
never
The only,
ever
the
make them
only
a
one that
couple.
I've seen. The only thing that I get stronger gay energy from just casual conversation is Louis and Legoshi from Beastars. Like they,
That's an anime I still haven't watched yet.
you should. It's
Yeah.
fucking awesome.
So-
I'll take your word for it.
And then my
Also,
number one
Nick,
one is
I'm gonna. Oh wait, no, go ahead.
a game I haven't actually finished the game of, but I watched the anime of, and I know it's a kick-ass motherfucking plot. Steins Gate.
I
Hey.
freaking check out.
So what you're gonna do, Ronald, is you're gonna beat Danganronpa V3, and then you're gonna borrow World's End Club from me, and then you're gonna play Ace Attorney.
No, the correct answer is.
And then
I'm
you say
going
no to all those, and you play Steins Gate because it's awesome.
Yeah, I'm going to
Yeah, you can
skip
do that too.
Dangan.
The correct
I'm gonna
answer
play
is
Ace Attorney.
if you skip all of those and just play me South.
Oh, did you finish a trial last night? Oh yeah, you're salty, damn.
You think?
Why do you think he's gonna quit the series again?
So upset.
Have you not learned that this is the agenda of Danganronpa? I'm gonna make Ronald quit me.
You
Rob,
Freaking
you play what you
emo
want to play.
and you guys just want my suffering. This is what people want. This is
That's why I,
I mean,
want
it's
you
good-
to go
it's
back to
good
playing Three
content.
Houses, because then you'll only feel sad after the good, and then there's good after
I
the
should have
sad,
played
so it's
three.
all
Like,
better.
I legitimately should not have streamed Dangan. I should just play Three Houses. This was legit. Like
You
this
could
was-
have hung out with Felix and
I mean,
Nidu.
This was
At
the
any
turning
given
point.
time, you can just say like, screw this game. I'm looking up a synopsis of the rest of the game and calling it done.
That might make me feel worse. That's the gamble there.
Gamble.
You're
Wait,
worse
wait,
in one go, and you don't waste 20 hours getting there.
Jeez. Do you have any other honorable mentions? I know that was the fifth one, right?
Yeah.
I'm getting tilted already. I don't know where Luis and MCM are, but real quick, my honorable mentions. I'm glad Tim mentioned it. I'm gonna specifically say Full Body, I suppose.
Okay.
For me, in fact, actually, you'll probably notice.
Oh, that's why you're upset. Okay.
Anyway.
Sorry, just remembering that.
God. Okay, so with Catherine, in fact, if I
You
were to have
seriously
more...
didn't see that before it happened?
What do you make? Ooh, okay.
Wait, you
That was
saw the end of
fucking
that
obvious.
trial before it happened? Oh my god, how?
Wait, what? Do you mean as in predicted, or are you talking about spoiled? Because I've surprisingly avoided
You didn't
spoilers.
predict it?
I didn't predict it.
I'm not.
It was
I'm
fucking
not
obvious.
trying to talk
Literally, the
about.
only trial,
First
the
of all,
only trial
first of
that
all,
that got me like anything close to like confused was 3.
all right, Crow, listen. First
The rest
of
of them were
all,
fairly obvious.
first of
No,
all,
it's just literally being like Joe Tomate a minute.
you know what? I'm not gonna talk about this because I'm just gonna get more upset.
I also predicted the Mastermind by Trial 2. Fun enough.
Did you now? God. Okay. Anyway.
I was gonna make a joke and say it was you, but considering how Trial 1 ends, that could actually be possible.
Are
I'm
you
gonna talk
implying
about
that it's
Catherine
not
now.
still possible?
I'm gonna talk about
Shut
Catherine.
up, Catherine.
God.
Actually, it would be really fun for a fan game to be like you're the mastermind and you're trying to set everything up.
It has to
No.
have been done by now. Someone's
it-
gotta have done it.
I think that that's almost
Oh,
too
everyone's coming
obvious
in.
of
Yeah,
a
it's too-
jump
Oh, wait, we'll be
after
done.
V3.
I don't know. We'll see. Anyways, Catherine, like other games
Yeah,
that
good
might
game.
end up on. Yeah, thank you. Catherine is a story that. Oh my god. See, the more I think back on it, you play the game. It's an intriguing concept, and like you said, overall, it's a really well done game in terms of like intertwining the gameplay with where the story ends up. And then the older I get, I don't know how to get into this without getting too personal. Basically, the story is freaking wild. And Full Body, like, surprised me with how surprisingly well they integrated the third Catherine. I'd say well in terms of, like, it wasn't too intrusive. Like, they kind of, like, slipped everything in, and, like, you basically play the game as it was, but they fit the moments in with the other Catherine, like, surprisingly good. So Catherine's cool. Play Full Body if you haven't.
That was my big fear with Full Body, because I was honestly like, okay, the main game's really all about this dynamic between one of two. So I was like, how are they going to squeeze in a third one?
I think you'll be pleasantly
So
surprised.
that they did it well, that's very good.
Yeah. At least to me, it felt like it fits in. Like, you can still play the game, and it'll basically feel like the first game if you don't even like do anything differently. So check it out. The other one I was debating on, but I don't know.
Danganronpa Ultra Despair Girls.
Well, the way I was gonna phrase it was this. Because I hate this series, but
So why are you playing it?
Shh.
Because we're forcing him to. Duh.
For content.
Yeah, we're bullying him.
The
You want the
reason
fucking flu? You want the fucking views? You play the scary teddy bear game.
The reason I phrase it this way specifically is because the whole overall arc of the story that goes from like 1 to the 3 anime, like I mentioned in our like review discussion or whatever, it all wrapped itself up surprisingly okay in a way that I didn't expect to be make me
So what's your opinion on Danganronpa 7?
Wait, what?
I'm joking, don't worry about it.
Well, apparently, like, according to Nick, I need to play that Danganronpa 4, but not really Danganronpa 4 game.
The one with the Pokemon characters.
Pretty much.
Like, maybe I'll... Anyways...
If you really want to be scared about that game, you should be scared not because of Danganronpa, but because it's a collab between the Danganronpa guy and the Zero Escape guy. Both writers very well known for being hacks.
Gosh, maybe I shouldn't play it.
How can I be so scared when the Rule 34 is so good?
I don't know if it's freaking worth it, I guess.
There are a lot of things I could address in that statement, and I don't know where to start, so I'm not.
Oh, well, never mind. Dang, he's about to get canceled.
The oldest characters in that game are 12
Bro,
man.
I would have been canceled like 20 different times. I'm a nobody.
Bro,
There's like 5 places that are like wrong in that statement. That's one of them. Another one of them is like the fact that there are many scary things that have porn drawn of them. That doesn't make them not scary. There's the fact that some things are into the scary for it.
I mean...
The only that scares me is the people who are into CP.
Yeah, CP is bad.
Let's change topics and fast.
Anyways, those are the only
let's
two
move
honorable mentions
on.
I can think of right now.
Let's talk about video games. I'd rather that.
Let's do that. David,
Fair
can
question.
you give your list now, please?
Are we
Can
doing
you
like
hear
the
me?
whole list or just as
Oh
number
no,
5?
well actually that was gonna be my next question. David, so did you want to do one at a time, or should we like do 2 and then like top 3, or like what do you want to do?
We could do one at a time.
Okay.
And maybe like we usually do. When it comes to top 3, then we just discuss them all in a row.
Yeah, so 1, and then top 3. Gotcha.
Sounds good to me.
Exactly.
Alright, go ahead, David. What's your numero 5?
All right. So again, I'm kind of doing this watch Mojo style, one game per franchise. I only mention the honorable mentions without explaining it, and also I'm not including games that have stories that were recycled from an anime or a movie. Like for example, Spider-Man 2, even though it's a good story, it was from the movie, or Naruto Storm 2, that was
Makes
also
sense.
So
Yeah, that
things
was
where the game comes from an existing.
Yeah, like an original story is what's on the list.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, so
Yeah.
whereas
like that's just me, That's just me though. That's just what I'm doing. What were you saying, Crow? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
So whereas something where if it was an original, if it was adapted from an anime but had an original story, that would be fine. Like there's actually a Jimmy Neutron game that just abandoned all of the actual stories and just had its own fucking
Yeah,
story.
it tells its own.
Really? What the frick?
And again, this is just what I'm doing. I'm not like.
Dude,
Yeah,
Oh
so
yeah,
that's
your
don't
rules.
worry.
Different rules.
People's roles are
Yeah,
their
no,
own.
no,
That's
we all
why
have
Nick's
different
list is his specific role for VNs.
I
Yeah.
couldn't believe my eyes when I saw Sheen and Ultraman just get together. It finally happened.
Did you say Ultraman?
Absolutely, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
In Jimmy Neutron, it's
Right, so-
Ultralord. Ultraman is that Japanese guy with the robot mask.
Hey man,
Totally, don't worry.
Maybe an
about it.
Ultraman.
That's
Sheen and
why.
Ultraman is a
That's
crack
right.
ship.
Bitch, I've seen a
Number
music
five.
video of Stitch and fucking Tinkerbell, so I don't know about you. Corrections are pretty cool.
Oh, I've had
Yo,
enough
I'm in for this
Disney
Sheen X
crap
Ultraman ship. Let's go.
Oh
David,
my-
what's your
okay,
number 5?
okay. You want to talk about a crack ship that I absolutely fucking love?
I don't know if I want to hear this.
There was
I'm scared.
Samurai Jack chips, and I'm going back to Homestuck fandom mode.
Oh, dear.
Sorry, I'm resetting back to my Google Plus intro. Samurai Jack X. Oh God, what was his name?
I hope.
Uh,
I really hope it is gonna go.
The blonde guy from that one cartoon that's always like flirting with women.
Johnny
Oh,
Bravo.
Johnny Bravo.
Oh, Johnny Bravo.
Yes.
Okay.
Seriously, there's a lot of really good fan art of it, and it actually all stemmed out from an official fucking Cartoon Network. One of the little sliders had
Oh,
Johnny
they're
and
doing laundry.
yes,
Yeah,
and the way
they
that
do
they
laundry
looked
together.
at each other.
Yeah. And they're like,
Listen,
so.
I was gonna say you don't have to go into
They
crack
had-
ship
they had
territory,
total
but I saw
bedroom
someone
eyes.
do some cool
That's
art of them like
funny.
knowing each other, and fighting side by
Yeah,
side.
no, it's super cute.
I-
It's super fucking cute.
They're like laundry day? Yeah.
Lo-
Yeah. Seriously, like, and some of the comics are so good.
Tangents. David, what is your number 5?
Sorry, Tumblr child.
What is your number 5, David?
Number 5 is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Yo, I still need to play that game.
That one's mad good.
I bought that game. I'm waiting for the upgrade coming this summer.
There's an upgrade coming.
So in that case, I'm going to give a spoiler-free, free explanation.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I really do still want to play this game.
Oh yeah,
So,
no, it's great.
So yeah, and I agree. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order really is the first really great Star Wars game we've had in a long time. And to be honest, you know, after the early 2000s, especially after like Star Wars Episode 3 game, there wasn't really a good Star Wars game after that. I mean, The Force Unleashed was, I would say, mediocre at best. Mediocre at most. And to be honest, I didn't really think it was that good of a game. And Force Unleashed 2 was also really bad. So yeah, you know, there were a lot of bad Star Wars games, so it was a really great refresher to finally have a great Star Wars game, especially as a Star Wars fan. You know, I really appreciate it, and as someone, you know, who does like the prequel trilogy, and especially Episode 3, Episode 3 is one of my favorite, Star Wars Episode 3 is one of my favorite movies of all time. And I really like the references. I really like how they added in like Star Wars Episode 3 vibes. And you know, I'm not really a fan of the sequel trilogy. And you know, I'm not going to get into that in detail, but I like the fact that this was really focused more on the, you know, kind of in between the prequel trilogy and the original trilogy, and it was actually kind of heading more towards the prequel trilogy because the timeline was closer to that era. And
Yeah.
I'll just say one of the most epic scenes I've ever seen in games of all time, and I would say this one scene actually got me to move it from an honorable mention to the actual list. And this is going to be a spoiler-free explanation of it, but there's one scene that's from Episode 3 that's basically takes place exactly during Episode 3, and it's like one of the most epic things. You know, it's basically a flashback scene. I'm not going to really mention it, but they actually added the same soundtrack from Episode 3. If you remember that movie, you'll recognize the song, and it's just completely epic.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah.
One of the ones. Sorry, and the scene that really got me was, I'll put it this way, the sequence right before you go to free roam, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Now I have an important question for you guys. Is this game canon?
It
I
is.
think. Yes.
It is.
It's
Actually,
got recurring characters in it.
That's pretty
they
freaking cool.
confirmed that most of the stuff like a lot of the games are canon.
Like the newer
they-
games, they're designing them to be like more canon aware or canon appliant.
That's
They've
really
deliberately
cool.
designed that.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, they actually canonized KOTOR.
Yeah, I think they did.
So
Well, shoot,
KOTOR
if
is
this
also
game's
canon.
post episode 3 vibes, then I gotta get Dane to play it.
It's mad
Yeah,
good.
no,
Fallen
and
Order is real good.
I fucking
what-
love how in-depth the combat is and all the different like techniques.
I agree.
It
you can get
handles
later
my
on.
favorite
Rules are
Star
really
Wars
good, too.
character very well. Like, that is the spoiler-free thing I will say for the game is my favorite
Oh, yeah.
Star Wars character is represented in it phenomenally well.
I assume you're also
I
talking
agree
about
with you
the
completely. I
sequence
know what
right
you're
before
talking-
free
Go
roam.
ahead.
I assume you're also talking about the sequence
Maybe.
right before free roam. Yes, no, that was good.
I'm looking forward to this game then.
Game's great.
I'm waiting for that PS5 upgrade so I can play it.
Wait,
That
so
would
that's
be a
the
good
upgrade?
idea,
Isn't it
play it on
coming
good
out
hardware.
PS5?
It's worth it.
Oh yeah.
And
Um.
Oh.
Oh yeah, and the level of customization is phenomenal. Like,
yeah, it is. It really is. It really is good.
Can I change my lightsaber to black though?
I believe so. Yeah.
Bruh. Okay, we good.
I know you can in KOTOR, which I'm sorry, but that KOTOR is the standard that I hold most Star Wars games up
The
to.
standard
Well,
most
no,
people
'cause
hold
I-
Star Wars games too.
Well, I mean, like, because when it comes
Well,
to
I mean,
you
yeah,
custom my
it-
shit, especially your lightsaber, you should be able to change the color, so it's like whatever. So I
I
remember in
will state that there are some premium colors, so keep that in mind.
You know, there's something I would. Oh, when you finish, there's something I wanted to add.
Oh, go ahead.
This is just my perspective. My theory is screw what people what is considered canon or not canon. Screw what the wiki says. You know, I think the whole point of it is this is really just entertainment. So whatever people think is canon, they think is canon. Like for
You're
example,
allowed
like
to have your own fan thoughts and your own personal
Oh, yeah,
ideas
yeah,
on
no,
it. It's
I-
your
Well,
experience.
it's
Enjoy it how you want.
understandable. The
Yeah,
reason
I
I
totally
ask
get
is because
That's
you guys
fine.
know me. I'm all about lore most of the time. So like I just can I can
Um,
appreciate things even more if they like put the effort to like make stuff canon amidst like all the stuff they've been doing. You know.
My thing to add when it comes to lore and fan perspective is, oh, absolutely. Like, a lot of people say that Disney killed the extended universe. No, the extended universe killed the extended universe. The amount of flatly contradicting things that are both pseudo-canon and the amount of, like... And also the bullshit with the fucking force-proof bugs towards the end of the timeline. No, let's no.
The Force basically became magic? Question mark.
So
Um,
my thing with that EU stuff is that I don't think Disney outright ever killed it off, considering that they're just picking things off left and right,
They're-
from that EU, just to add it into the.
Yeah, no, they're
canon.
canonizing. Yeah, they're canonizing certain things. They're basically said like, unless it's on this list, it's not canon. And I believe it was the games, the movies, and any books with the official stamp. Most of the fan books are considered not canon, which is
Force
fair.
Unleashed isn't canon anymore, is it?
No,
Force
I was gonna say,
Unleashed-
can it be canon
I-
anymore?
It dealt with Skywalker's Apprentice, so
So
I'm gonna
that's
assume no.
why, like David said,
right.
you can enjoy stuff regardless if it's canon or not. That's why people
Yeah, exactly.
love Persona
And-
Portable.
and here's an old Tumblr word that I'm going to throw out. AU. AU. Let's
Yeah,
just
alternate.
alternate
right.
universe.
Yeah, that's true.
You know
You
what
can
I
have
want?
different universes
That's honestly
and
the answer to anything.
Yeah, just different
lore-wise that
timelines.
doesn't
It's
make
the
sense.
easiest
It's just-
answer.
Yeah, it's just.
You
I
know
mean,
what?
technically, and this is one of the worst things. This is one of the worst reactions. Is literally everything is canon in the Homestuck universe. Literally everything.
Every fan thing made is canon.
Because
Yes,
it's
every
all
single one.
freaking alternate shenanigans.
Because AU.
I mean, there's a timeline where one of the characters' dads is Shrek,
What the
and
frick?
that is considered fully canon. So there's full canon, and then there's dubious canon. Most
Didn't they say
fan
that
things are
about
considered
Undertale too,
dubious
actually?
canon.
Yeah,
yeah, no,
Tales
the-
fan stuff exploded just like that too.
Yeah, and no, there are also those. Thankfully, you brought those two up. They're actually related series.
Because
Undertale.
of the whole extended fan and canon.
As well as Toby Fox, the guy who made Undertale, is a huge part of the official Homestuck stuff.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's what we meant.
didn't he like contribute directly to some of the MS Paint
And
Adventure stuff?
also, yes, and it's also considered. They're also considered MS Paint Adventure, and you could. There's official Homestuck role-playing forum, and you could select any of the characters from Undertale. They're fully canon.
Also, I'll just a second. I'll be right back. Esteban, you can start talking about your number 5, but can you type it in Discord for me so I can put it on the thingy? I'll be right back.
The only thing I want to kill off that
Stuck
tangent real
needs to be
quick
cleansed from the internet.
is the fact that I just want Dash Rendar back at some point.
Yeah,
That's the only thing I could give a shit about the EU.
that's what matters. Gotta get your
But
boy.
yeah. So yeah, also a good portion of Undertale was made in Andrew Hussey's basement.
Oof.
What's number 5?
Oh, so my number 5 is what's it called? LA Noire. And the reason it's not higher on the list is because, in my opinion, the game kind of like the third. If you played the game, for anyone who's played the game, in my opinion, the last 1/3 of the story, when shit starts happening, because of a certain action, which to me, honestly, kind of like on my first playthrough was kind of, it felt like it was out of nowhere, like left field. I was
Yeah,
like, wait, what?
it's pretty sudden.
Yeah,
It's
like,
just like, oh, whoa, this is happening.
you can tell me like, oh well, there were signs and everything. I'm like, no, like the way that because the way that it was all narrating itself, it made it very clear. It just, that one part just seemed like, why was this in here?
Yep.
And from my understanding, because I know this game had like a really rough development history,
Mhm.
so there's probably a part where like they couldn't fit in what they wanted to do with that. So that's why it feels really like sudden, and that's why it's not higher on my list, because like the fact that the last 1/3 just kind of comes out of nowhere. That one instance is just boggles me.
Yeah.
But everything else leading up to it, it's really great. I love the noir type of setting the game has.
Cole Phelps is
And-
a great protagonist. Like, he is a delight to play the game with.
Cole Phelps, list as anything, any occupation afterwards. Cole Phelps.
Yep.
And what always baffled me is like every time like he was interview somebody, like he always knew how to sketch them like super good and super
He's a
clean.
great
I'm like,
artist.
I'm just like, man, like what the hell, dude? Like that's ridiculous.
If he ever wants to get out of the detective stuff, he could very easily become like any sort of art career he wants. His grasp of like drawing
I'm
people
sorry.
is phenomenal.
I'm sorry, I really want to imagine like there's a timeline where he just becomes a fucking furry artist.
There's the way old
yeah.
Eagle Raptor cartoon for LA Noire where he's trying to talk to the police about it. They're like, wait, you drew this? Yo, this is mad good. Hey, draw me!
I don't remember
The
that.
officer's like, yo, Cole drew this. Yo, he did? Yo, he's real good.
And you know, for the time, the facial technology that they used to capture it was pretty good. It's a little scripted.
It looks a little silly now, but it works very well for the game.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
no, but I'm also always for like stylization rather than realism.
Oh yeah, but like, I think what really carried that game again, like was the way like the narrative was, and how like,
Definitely.
The
and
narrative
how, like,
called
caught
for
up-
realism, though.
and when you got caught up into it, you got really invested. It's just that 1/3 just fucks it up. Not to like the nth degree, but it's just like, but
Yeah.
why?
It's very
Oh, yeah, no.
compelling to watch how these characters go and move. It fumbles a bit near the end, but the entire game is still phenomenal.
But,
it definitely still holds ground as a very
Oh
good
yeah, no,
narrative
no,
game.
I'm
Yeah.
Howdy, Louie.
same thing with
And what's funny is that like, oh, sorry to cut you off.
sorry, I was just gonna say the same thing with Tyranny, which is in my honorable mentions. it has like a sort of, at least in that game, it's more of a rushed ending, and it's like they didn't have enough dev time, so they sort of slammed the ending, which always sucks when that happens. That's also why I honestly couldn't put it on my story list just because of that.
Right. But to me, it was such a memorable experience. Like even if that mess up happened, I still think it's really great and worth your time investing into it. And then like, it's funny too because I think that was my first Rockstar game. Funny enough.
It's a dang good first one.
Yeah, because I wasn't into like the Grand Theft Autos. Bully kind of caught my interest, but I never played it. But then I played this game, and I was like, "This is really cool." So that's my number 5 for the most part.
LA Noir's.
Okay.
Yeah, dude.
That's the funny thing is, I borrowed it from Anna a long time ago, but I never actually got to the end of the game.
Really?
Yeah, I forgot what happened. I just never finished the game.
Damn.
Well, Gray Fox, we've been
Getcha.
live actually. We just went on an incredible amount of tangents, and me trying to contain my salt for Danganronpa.
Oh.
Crow.
So one more thing
Wait, go ahead.
One thing to add is that I think that re-release fucks up the prompts.
Yeah.
I hate
It's not
the
X
new
to doubt
prompt.
anymore. It's good cop, bad cop.
It's good cop, bad cop, or what's the middle? What's the middle? Is it still doubt or is it something else? I think they changed all 3 of them.
Wait, they got rid of doubt?
Yeah, it's a different prompt now. It's bad
Yeah,
cop.
all 3.
Bro, that's the
like,
main meme of this game. What?
Exactly!
It's like because you remember how like the prompts
They
are
respect.
truth, lie, and doubt. Like I was like, okay, those work. I'm like, good cop, bad cop, or doubt. I'm like, bruh, excuse me, what?
Oh god.
Dang.
That,
Also,
that
yeah,
sounds
Gray
like,
Fox, we're
that
on
sounds
the
like
main
it's
list.
getting a Fallout 4 problem, where like sarcastic
Yes,
buttons
but
occasionally,
sarcastic. No, but actually yes.
and like, yeah, or I remember there's a couple times where sarcastic button is just, yo, I'm gonna be racist towards robots.
Hell yeah.
What the fuck?
But
Why is that sarcastic?
Because
But
of
When
what
there's a
robots
fucking
deserve.
meme prompt.
here's the messed up part. It wasn't like that in the original. They decided just to change it like that, which, for the life of me, I don't know why they would decide to do that. But they just did it either way. So
I
it was
hope
just
to God that there's some like fan patch that fixes.
there's a mod
fixes
for it
or-
probably.
Yeah, probably.
But as far as like, cause I picked it up on PS4, so I was like, well, I'm like, like $20 on a sale. All right, I'll get back into this again. Like, why they changed the prompts, bruh?
Okay.
But,
So for my,
Oh, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
I was just gonna say my number 5 is Persona 3.
Hey.
See, okay, so the
I
whole
adore
that
the
whole
game.
Sorry, no, go ahead.
This is okay. Now, here's the funny part. That is my favorite game,
Like,
but I will admit it doesn't have the best great story. Persona 3? Yeah, no, it's my favorite game.
Nice.
I have very deep emotional attachment to it, so I didn't want that to particularly be in the way. And
It's a good
frankly,
game.
there are some parts where it completely falls flat.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the social links, some of the interaction. I'm not going to say that it's completely golden.
Persona 4
Haha,
Gold.
yeah. Ding.
Got it.
But
Gotcha.
I will also state that there are some views that pop up that I consider outdated in Persona 3.
Makes sense.
Some aspects of RPG
I think-
games, some don't age well, some are like, whatever.
I will
Uh,
state the beach scene for one.
Yeah.
I think
that
something.
one
Uh,
aged poorly.
Which,
Uh,
like when you mean, I
If you're not
guess-
familiar, I will explain.
Yeah. Persona's got a rocky history with some topics.
I was gonna say, by the way, when it comes to like
At least it
comparing
wasn't as bad as some of the
Personas,
shit they pulled into.
Yup.
I still
What do you mean? Hitler was a good guy.
Excuse you, it was Führer.
No,
They
the
didn't
Fuhrer.
call him
No, you
Hitler,
played the
it was
censored
Fuhrer.
version. You played the censored version where they put Hitler in a fucking baseball cap and shades and renamed him to
He has
Fuhrer.
cool sunglasses.
Oh my
In the
God.
original, they just
Hitler
had
with
they didn't
shades?
have those, and they just
It was just Hitler.
Hitler with shades is the
Yeah.
dopest shit ever. Let's be
He's
real.
got this goofy smile. It's the most pimpin' image of Hitler ever.
Oh.
You remember that, off tangent, but that one time when Dragon Ball
See?
put Hitler in the movie.
Look at how styling he is.
We weren't fucking joking. They just
The
put
fur is freaking pimpin'.
Oh my God. When I
Don't
was
you want to be good friends with the Fuhrer, Ronald?
Persona 2 is weird, man.
Dude, what's
And
actually
that's not
worse?
including the fact that Persona 2 is actually 2 different games.
Dude,
Oh yeah,
what-
because there's
what would be-
innocent sin and eternal punishment.
what's
Yeah, and
worse?
this is just internal punishment content.
Oh my God.
Innocent Sin isn't free either. There's some really bad shit around
Okay.
So what's worse, having just Hitler with his name out there and just an image of him, or like making him the cool dude?
making
what's
him an
the worst?
OC? I.
My OC don't steal.
Dude,
you don't know what's
Dude,
worse? You know what's
JoJo's
worse?
Bizarre Adventure season or part 2. They make out Germans or Nazis to make him look like the most baddest motherfucker ever.
The more
So,
I look
I'm
at
just
this
kinda
image,
like, whatever.
the more
I-
Why?
Okay.
Okay.
You know what the
never
worst
mind.
part is? Let me just explain something to you real quick. So, one of the things with the Shin Megami Tensei series is that oftentimes the shadows slash demons slash persona are based off of, like, can be occasionally based off of characters that appeared previously. So there's a theoretical timeline where there's a Führer persona or shadow.
Bro. I don't know if you want Hitler as your persona, Chief. I rest my case.
Dude, instead of persona, you get Hi Hitler.
Just shoot yourself in the fucking leg!
Bro, Persona 5, you have Xander Mobus summoning. Imagine him having to go in and record a voice line. Summoning
Hitler.
I need you to talk about calling on Hitler.
Oh.
But, yeah. Sorry. Moving on back to the list.
I'll reveal your
No.
true. Okay. Moving
I'll
on.
reveal your true form.
Tim, what's your number 5?
So then when you summon Hitler, it plays the fucking like nationalist movie shit like it's been recorded over history of him.
Oh, you mean, or either that, or it just starts playing, Deutschland über alles.
Oh my
Yeah, dude.
I'm gonna cry.
I know what Hitler is a persona.
Are we progressing the list yet?
You're still on Hitler. B-boy, get back to the list.
Oh my. Oh, okay, there we go. Tim, what's your number 5?
So my number 5 is one of my most favoritist bad games ever. A little game called Deadly Premonition.
Oh, that game, I remember that.
Deadly
that the photo
Premonition.
one? Is
So
that the one where you take pictures of ghosts
no, that's Fatal.
and they fuck off? Okay.
Deadly Premonition is what happens when you have a Japanese developer watch all of Twin Peaks and go, I want to make that in a video game. And
Ooh.
what you get is the adventures of the most charming video game protagonist I've ever seen solving a murder mystery in a small town. Agent Francis York Morgan is there because he has a personal interest in cases around the murder of a Miss Anna Graham, and discovers
Oh my
this
God.
case could be tied to greater things. The entire game is you being a wacky FBI agent.
Leas?
Gosh dang it.
He's doing wacky FBI agent things where you talk to small town people, you interact with the sheriff's department, you try to solve the murder mystery. At the same time, there's creepy red vines growing over town and a creepy red trench coat man with an axe coming for you, and is a lot of. It's a perfect mixture of really campy, silly stuff, but as you play through it and talk to characters and get more dialogue, everyone's really well written. All the characters are really interesting, and the plot itself has a lot of legitimate twists and changes that are like, whoa, I actually kind of didn't think this would happen, or oh, I didn't think this character would be tied to that. And, like, watching this murder mystery unfold into this greater conspiracy is genuinely really interesting. And going along with it with this guy who does nothing but talk about 80s movies while he's driving is phenomenal.
I was gonna say, you should have exported your playthrough to YouTube.
I really should have. If anyone out there wants to know why this game is so good, the opening cutscene is Agent York Morgan driving his car in the rain at night. He's got a cigarette in his mouth, a phone on his shoulder, and his laptop to his side. His laptop, he's looking up details about murder cases. On the phone, he's talking to the people at the FBI about Tom and Jerry's sadomasochistic relationship.
Jesus Christ, that
He's
sounds
telling
beautiful.
them, hey, no, Tom and Jerry need to be with each other. See, that's what Tom wants, and that's what Jerry provides. They have a proper relationship.
God.
And then he
Oh my
gets scared
God.
off the road, and he almost runs over some squirrels who sound like monkeys.
Dude, that's godlike. Let's go.
I really do.
Let's go.
And they
They
do
do.
back for each other.
He does. It's exact, and that's why they stay together, because that's what Tom wants.
Oh, wow.
And then he's like, hello, FBI, you still there? But, the game is fantastic. It is every bit silly and every bit serious when it needs to be. And the biggest thing that sells it still as a top story for me is the main character. York is one of my all-time favorite protagonists in video games ever. And the way he changes and grows throughout the story is phenomenal. I love it. He's my favorite video game protagonist of all time. Game's fantastic.
Sorry, B-Boy, I have a bit of a song request. Can you play the song that we can't say the name of on screen?
Is it what you put in freaking Discord?
Yes! If not, euphoric filth is fine.
Hold on a second.
I'm gonna grab some Deadly Premonition music to put in here.
Yeah, do that. Wait a minute. Is this gonna be what I think it is? Hold on.
Hold on, I'll pin it if you want.
Wait, you said it was a. Wait, hold on.
I DM'd it to you. That.
Wait, you pinned it.
You said it was sick.
Oh, I thought you meant the freaking Hitler video.
No, not Agent Hitler FBI. I don't want you to play that. I just thought it was funny that we immediately went from the Fuhrer to FBI story, so my brain just hit that. But yeah.
Anyways, in fact, I'm gonna put this in the song request also. Or not. Hold on. But Nick, what's your number 5?
Sonic Adventure 2.
Word?
Okay.
Ooh.
That's fair.
I like the story of Adventure 2 a lot. I think it's one of this game's strongest points.
It really
That's
is.
fair.
Well,
honestly.
it's not complex. It's not a complex story. I just like
In the context of Sonic, it's more complex than what you'd expect, I suppose.
A story does not need to be complex if it does execution well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
no,
it's good.
But one of the other reasonings is that I realized that once I axed out visual novels, I need to play more games with stories.
Wait, you play Splatoon? That's got a story.
totally.
That story's not better than Sonic Adventure 2.
I was
Your
gonna
Sonic
say,
Yeah,
is
is,
no.
kinda-
is the story of Splatoon basically gang wars?
No, well,
Okay.
no.
It's a little bit more
Post-apocalypse,
complicated than that.
fight
It's
the
actual
octopus.
like.
Dude, where's my
Um,
black versus white Splatfest?
I will also state that there's sort of
I'm
a
pretty sure something
race
like that.
war in the canon.
Yeah, dude.
That's part of
It's
what's
pretty
going
much
on with like
resolved in
Octolings
Splatoon 3 as far as we know.
becoming. Yeah,
I'm just gonna post the
Octolings
best possible
becoming-
thing for that. Which uses my
Octolings
favorite quote from
becoming
Wooly.
Octolings becoming full citizens is
It's achieved in Splatoon 2.
They
yeah,
did a Splatfest for
before-
Squids versus Octolings.
which if we're being completely
God.
honest, Octolings are cooler.
Yeah, have you
She's
seen
deep.
Marine? She's hot.
Yeah,
I knew
fair
the
enough.
fan
The
art was gonna come up
Choctopus would
eventually.
be I mean the
See,
Choctopus is pretty good.
You see, I have like over 2,500 hours of my life with both. They're both kind of lame, man.
They're both kind of lame.
Both races kind of suck, man. It's just how this world is.
You spend that much time looking at squid kids and octopus kids, and you go, I hate these kids.
Gosh.
Alright, what amazing context for me to walk
I
into.
think I use
Yeah,
Octolings
I was gonna
more,
say,
though.
howdy, Luis. When were you gonna say something?
I don't know, I was just kind of absorbing the conversations, waiting for the right time to jump in.
I
Yeah,
commend you for
they
trying
get
to
to
absorb
spin.
any of this.
Oh, I tried, don't
I
worry.
mean, if there's anything we learned from it, I'm not going to finish that fucking sentence.
Ronald,
I
who should
mean,
I
no.
cosplay now?
wait, what?
Legit,
Because
We
I
have
can-
learned nothing.
Wait, what, Nick?
We learned
I
Hitler had
can-
cool shape.
Who should I cosplay in PSO2? Give me a character, any character.
Should you cosplay? I think you should cosplay your Corrin waifu.
That's bro. I
Oh, you're talking
cosplay
about New
as
Genesis?
characters in PSO2.
Oh,
Well,
no.
Clearly, you're going to. It's pure.
I'm playing PSO2. PSO2. When New Genesis comes out, I'll check it out.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna make me play
It's
it.
not replacing PSO2. Fuck.
Her
It
playing
sounds like an
Genesis, it
entirely
looks
different
pretty.
game.
PSO2 NGS is a completely different game. So for people that PSO2 is not your game, NGS very well probably might be your game. NGS is a very good game. It does not fulfill the same desire, it's the same role that PSO2 does for me. That's my problem with NGS. Is that it wants to, that NGS sets out to basically wipe my one of my favorite, if not my favorite game of all time, off the face of the planet, without being an adequate replacement to the game, because it's just different. It's not an update to the existing game. It's so different. The combat feels different. Everything's different, and I'm fine with that. NGS is a good game. It's just I'm so butthurt about the fact that it's like the effect. Like I tell you what I feel right now.
Oh, my
I
bad,
feel
it's
just
bad,
like
though.
BBCF players when BB Tag came out. It's like, yo, BB Tag's lit, man, but can BB Tag not be like the harbinger of demise for my community, please?
That's
That's
how-
literally
I
how
thought
I
that was the
feel.
gotcha. I thought that was the gotcha game.
Oh,
It's just
that's
like-
where this song comes from.
I'm just so salty that NGS just is basically the Grim Reaper of my favorite, of like possibly my favorite game of all time now.
I mean, can't you still
I mean-
play it after
And I-
Genesis?
yes, but nobody else
Maybe-
will. How am I gonna do 12-man raids? How am I gonna do other shit? Like,
I'm pretty
we're
sure
gonna
there'll
have
be
to
people.
Bro,
Yes,
people
we're gonna
still
have
play
to,
Street
like,
Fighter
what you
4,
do-
it'll
form
be
like a
fine.
tight-knit
Now,
Discord.
listen to me.
I'm
Listen
gonna have
to
to
me.
go into the lobby, get people into Discord servers and stuff. Yeah.
What you do is you bully your close friends until they get a good enough computer, and then you yell at them to play with you.
I mean,
Clearly.
Nick
Yeah, what else is
basically
But they're all
does
gonna play
already.
NGS instead as soon as they try out NGS.
Also,
They're gonna be playing PSO2 with me, and then they're gonna click the button that's in the game, that permanently, like it's the same game. You just click a button, and now you're playing NGS. They're gonna accidentally click that button one day, and then it's gonna be like, oh look, this game's better. Bye.
This
I'm
game's
like, no, please,
better."
up. Don't leave.
Well,
Make a
well
mod
then
that deletes
replace your
that
friends
button.
with robots.
that's a fair assessment. Okay, Luis, what's your number 5?
Okay, so quick plug-in. I'm glad that Sandy and I were able to listen in as soon as we heard the Hitler was a good guy. Anyways,
I
Yeah,
know.
cool shades.
Thanks to you guys,
I'd
I'm gonna
like
be
to point out
thinking.
that only one person said that.
I'm gonna be
and it
thinking
wasn't
all
me.
night about I'm thinking about Xander Mobus saying, like, just calling on Hitler. Thanks a lot, you guys.
You're welcome.
I'm playing Persona
Anyway.
5 Royal. This is gonna be on my mind. Do you have any honorable mentions, by the way, Luis?
Okay. So I have a few, not as much as I usually would, mainly
That's
because
fine.
I kind of came
I'm
up
on a bit
last
of a
minute
time
with some of
crunch
these.
anyway.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So first one's gonna be only because I've never played the game. It's gonna be Last of Us. It's really good story.
Yep.
Pretty heartfelt. You know, the intro of the game is
Which is why I'm still not gonna play.
depressing. Yeah. I mean, it's your kind of stuff, Ronald. But anyway,
That intro hits you right in the heart.
Oh my
yeah,
God.
it does. It does.
Upset.
But yeah, that's a quick one. Second one, I was kind of hesitant on putting it in, but only because I wanted to fill a slot. I'll just put in Street Fighter,
Which
particularly.
one?
Personally, I
the
would say
entire
2.
plot? Oh, 2?
Clearly Street Fighter 1 is the
Yeah,
best.
obviously the best
Oh.
one.
Hey,
Definitely
it's
the
got
best.
it's got Birdie in it.
Yeah, that's true.
Everyone's favorite character.
Yeah, bro. But no, in terms of like
Who do we believe
separating,
that statement?
like even separating itself from the animated movie, which is almost a rough, like exact connection of the story. I do appreciate like the simplicity of it. You know, before it gets convoluted, they started focusing on like too many characters, like they do in 5. But for the most part, Bison is kind of just a well-known name now, despite the Japan and American like
Name mixed
Translations.
around shenanigans? Yeah.
exactly.
The Bison Balrog Shenanigans.
This is why you call them
clearly-
Dictator,
clearly,
Boxer, and Claw. But everyone knows who they are.
Clearly, sorry. Clearly, your favorite game is Street Fighter the movie, the video game, the movie, the video game.
Fighter, the movie,
Man,
the
how'd you
game.
know? Damn, you stole the surprise from my number? No. No, no, I never actually watched the movie, which I probably will sometime soon. But nonetheless, Jean-Claude Van Damme needs to be Johnny Cage in the next Mortal Kombat movie. Otherwise, what's the point?
Are you saying that
Um,
it shouldn't be Nicolas Cage?
No.
Wait,
that.
who should be Johnny Cage?
I think I'd be down for Nick Cage to be Johnny Cage, honestly.
Nah. I think Jean-Claude Van Damme, for the sake of like the meta, should
Well, I mean,
absolutely
we're
be
also
Johnny Cage.
talking about. Let's be completely honest. Johnny Cage is canonically a horrible actor in very bad movies, with occasionally like good ones, but is really well grossing. That is fucking Johnny. That is
That is
just
Nicolas
Nicolas
Cage.
That is Nicolas Cage.
Talk about
That's
perfect
true,
casting.
but Johnny Cage isn't fucking insane.
That's also true.
Listen.
So
Just because he got just I can't even say this with a straight face. Listen, just because Nick Cage got vipers for sexual reasons doesn't mean he's insane.
Come back to sexual what?
oh my god.
He got vipers for sexual reasons. I don't
Okay.
know what. I don't want to ask, but it was written in a fucking newspaper. His vipers and like several of his yachts and a couple of his castles were seized at once.
That is,
He has
And
a
his
couple
vipers-
castles.
and
Wait,
And his yacht, and one of his yachts had vipers for sexual reasons.
that is some information.
Okay.
dude, I mean, if you got that much money, like
little
eventually you
castle.
just want to try out everything. Like,
That's a fair
you just,
point,
like,
I suppose.
this sounds like a thing to try. Let's see what happens.
You know what? Let's do it. Just, we're gonna see
Seems
what
like he
happens.
was
Wait,
going
what?
Charlie Sheen on that one.
Oh my god. Do you have any other honorable
Well-
mentions?
Yes. Okay, last one is gonna be Doom. Doom Eternal specifically. So
Hey.
it's not an amazing story. It's not a little bit convoluted, but it has a somewhat decent ending. You know, for those that don't really play the game, I'll just try to minimize the spoilers details, but basically, he is known as kind of like a demigod amongst men. The devils, they like to call it, which is the Dark Lord, spooky, is basically like a copied version of his appearance, which is pretty cool. Final fight goes kind of the way you would expect. He is some decent plot twists in there, but nonetheless, it definitely had an Avengers Endgame kind of vibe, to where the ending had good against evil, large ass army invading hell, and then, you know, so on and so on. So it's not a great story, but I do like the idea that it's not just the Doomslayer going against hell on his own, but rather all the other people that he kind of just scoffs at, that is still on his side. But yeah, that's pretty much my honorable mention. So I'm gonna skim through my top 5 because I do gotta go somewhere. So
Okay.
I'll make this as quick as I possibly can. So my number 5 is, I've been kind of hobbling between these, but I'll just go with the one that I sunk the least amount of time in terms of gameplay, which is Five Nights at Freddy's.
Freaking.
So,
Hey.
okay, so the thing about the story here is that although you have very minimal amounts of like gameplay story, most of it is pretty much from coming to your own conclusions on it, which is pretty crazy because not a lot of video games do that. They like
no, it's a lore heavy, and
Yeah,
that's one. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, like, no, you're good. No, for one, it's like extremely lore heavy. But the interesting thing about the lore is that 75% of it is stuff that you can come to your conclusions about. So,
It's funny you say that because Crow literally mentioned earlier about things where you piece the lore together yourself, basically.
And I was saying that
Yeah.
I personally had none of those on my list because I wanted games that addressed the story straightforward. I also will add something to the Doom Eternal thing. It is wonderfully refreshing how straightforward the story is, though.
yeah, for sure. Yeah,
No convoluted bullshit. Just, hey, you're killing demons. Have fun. And
yeah,
here's some story reasons for why you're doing it.
it's basically FPS Devil May Cry in some ways. So, yeah, going back to FNAF, it's crazy. Like, I kind of had some self-reflections and realizing that I like some particular stories where you kind of have to figure out what the story is about, and then it's also like a lot of heavy lore details in terms of timelines, in terms of trying to figure out how it's going to go next. And considering that there is a new FNAF game that's coming later this year, if not next year, it keeps going. You know, is it the creator milking it? Probably, but it's still pretty fun to
Yeah, it's
kind of
the
like
kind of thing you can
piece together
feel
what
like
it's
it's
about.
milking, but at the same time, he is adding substance. Like,
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
more and more. That's the surprising thing. In fact, I know people meme on like Matt Pat's videos, but like that's part of why I like looking into FNAF lore, because of like how he broke down how much there is to like.
The thing
Basically-
that amazes me the most about Scott Cawthon and the stuff he did for FNAF, it's like people are like, oh, he's just milking it. He's just making these games out like crazy. The dude doesn't just like, he'll make the game and then say, hey, I'm working on the next one. It'll be out in 3 months. And then he'll release it on Steam next month, fully completed, with more than he promised.
It's freaking
Like,
Yeah,
he
no,
doesn't
no.
just pop out games for money. He makes he makes it deliberately well designed and
Seriously.
different products very
Seriously.
quickly. Like,
One
to me,
of- one
milking
of-
it would be
Kinda
like just
odd.
releasing a garbage game for the same price. He comes up
Now-
with entirely new games, and
Now-
they're well worth it.
Yeah.
Now,
So-
let
so
me also
basi-
just fucking state something. There was the FNAF World that,
Yeah.
like, it didn't meet people's expectations. So he fucking pulled it down, refunded everybody's money, updated the game, upgraded the game, and sent it back on Steam for free.
Yep. The one time it didn't work out, he's like, "Yep, you guys are right," and he manned up and did that.
That's
Dude,
actually godlike.
I have incredible
Yeah.
respect for Scott Cawthon as a developer.
Not to mention,
Like-
like,
Dude's amazing.
not to mention, like, all things considered, fucking FNAF Pizzeria is one, like, my favorite because of how impactful it is of, like, no, your choices are what makes the game harder.
Yep.
You added more, you fucking added more, you know, animatronics to your night, so that's why there's more animatronics in your night.
Yeah, and honestly, another thing that I appreciate about the series in general, I know this is more about gameplay than story, but I really appreciate that every single FNAF game has its own identity in terms of gameplay.
It
Definitely.
really does.
Yeah. Even, I have not played it, but VR looks amazing because of your ability to move around. Like,
It's considered the best one in the series.
which,
I will
You know-
never play it because I am a little baby.
Same.
Basically, what I'm hearing for people complaining about the milking is, Scott Cawthon's milking the series. Alright, moo.
Yeah, honestly, dude,
I hope you like freaking
Milk
milk,
away,
bro.
bitch.
yeah, dude,
They're complaining about milking when this dude's making some high quality dairy.
exactly. That's
yeah,
like some
not to
producer
mention,
shit.
you know, I did like that there were a few years where there was no FNAF game.
It was a nice
Because he couldn't have an idea.
Yep.
Sometimes you get writer's block.
The time when
You
he
don't
was
know
like,
what
I
to
don't
do.
want to force it, he didn't. It was, didn't hey.
And I
Yeah.
respect the living shit out of that. Like,
Okay, so one final thing to add to this is that back in 2017, the script for the FNAF story was actually finished, so that they could actually make a movie out of it.
Right.
But Scott had decided, or like he realized how shit the actual script is. So what he did is that he scrapped it and literally just started over
Yep.
with a different production. Like, he really cares about his product, dude. Like,
Yep.
and that's why it took so long for a movie to even come out. Which it
There's-
still hasn't.
There's been here, like, I remember he had a thing a while ago, like, someone asked him about the movie since it's been a while, and he talked about how he's gone to a couple different studios now, even, because of how much he wants to make sure it's good. And in
Yeah.
fact, the Banana Splits movie that was made out of nowhere,
Mhm.
that looks like just some random movie about animatronics killing people, is allegedly using one of the rejected FNAF scripts. And the movie's kind of schlock. It's just very boring. So it was like, oh, so it's no wonder he ditched the script. There's
Yeah,
also
that's-
rumor that the whatever animatronics movie that's got Nicolas Cage just beating them all up is inspired off
Well,
of like that reject script.
While he's
Oh,
on the
yeah,
road,
yeah.
Yeah, like
which,
so the fact that like we're like some of these movie studios are making these is because of like I've heard things about like it's from Scott getting in touch with studios trying to work the movie out, but it wasn't up to the level of quality he wanted, so he was like, nope, I'm backing out. And
Yeah.
that's again an incredible amount of respect for the guy who wants to make something of incredible value. He doesn't just want to pump something out because he can. He's like, no, I want this to be a quality product. I want to see this all the way through. Massive respect for that.
Yeah, it definitely works. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, that's my take on FNAF. My number 4, I'm gonna give this one to MK11.
Hey.
So, you know, I'm obviously trying to separate my bias from the gameplay and stuff like that. But honestly, NetherRealm really made me think about which story I wanted to put in, because a lot of the games that they made have pretty good stories in terms of fighting games. Like, like I was seriously considering Injustice 2, MK9, even Injustice 1, man. It was hard.
oh, Yeah, no, I like my love of Mortal Kombat is because of the story.
Yeah,
Like,
not gonna
yeah.
lie, I actually thoroughly enjoyed watching Maximilian play through Mortal Kombat 11's story. They did a good job.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
shit's
no,
like
no.
a pop. That shit's like, man, I'm gonna get some popcorn and watch the shit out of this.
You really
I'm
can.
really
Yeah.
glad they're doing that because they're pushing other fighting games to do the same. They're setting a
Oh
standard.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, no, and that like, don't get me wrong, I know that it's big for the gore, but no, it's always been the story for me.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
MK11 did great on.
I remember the
It's-
first Mortal Kombat game I played. I was like, I want to say like 8, and
gonna
fell
say,
in love with the story.
It was a semi-adequate age. Gosh dang it.
Yeah. MK8's MK versus DC.
But no, I was saying I was 8 years old when I played my first Mortal.
Oh shit, I got you. It helps. It also helps that MK11 had pretty good voice acting. But besides that, like the DLC expansion to that was pretty good too, because I will forever be grateful to have Kerry Tagawa be an actual main character in the DLC expansion. He absolutely made the story because of like the freaking electricity he brought into it.
Yo.
So yeah, that's MK11. My number 3.
Hey, one second.
Oh, go ahead.
Ronald, do you mind if I give you my number 4? Because I need to go Uber my dad really quick, and I'm not sure if I'll be back before you circle back around.
Yeah.
Hello, Ronald.
Ronald?
You there?
Ronaldo.
Damn, Nebro missing.
Ronaldini.
He's probably watching the MK11 story.
Damn.
Yeah, to
Like-
look it up.
It's like, hold on, family. I have to feel myself with the story again.
He did put just a sec in the Twitch chat, so.
But,
And then he put in the Discord. He said, "Go ahead." So.
He's like, as in, I go ahead and
Yeah,
You know what you
go
should
ahead.
do? If you're gonna go ahead and do it, make sure to type it in the chat, so that way he knows what game it was.
You can go back and type it.
Alright. Oh, shoot. This is one I shouldn't be in a rush to explain. Because it's like my oddball one. But, like, it's a
More
game.
oddball than Sonic Adventure 2.
Yeah, because, like, an indie game no one here's heard of. Well, maybe. But, I mean, it was free around certain stuff a while ago. I got a while back in, like, 12th grade. But, neat little, game. A little cute little story. It's called Oxenfree.
Oxenfree.
I've heard that in passing.
I've heard about that in so long.
Yeah, it's a neat little game. It's about like teenagers lost on an island, like a haunted island or something. Where it's like, it's got pretty good character interactions and pretty human story. Nice and relaxing overall though. But, I don't know.
Nice.
I just remember it being a good game. Story was nice. Neat. Not that long a game though. But, and I get borderlines along my guidelines of like, don't make a game just to be a story. But like, you were walking around. Like this one's kind of falls into the walking simulator category,
Oh,
where it just barely
I-
counts as.
I will state there's a couple on my list that are walking sims.
Okay, so wait, what? Okay, so my bad. I was on the phone. Nick, you have to go, right?
Yeah, well, for a little bit. I'll be back around before top threes.
So you want to give your number 4 and then Luis finishes
He
list?
just did.
Oh, what was it?
Oxenfree.
I don't know how to spell that, to be honest.
Well, how do you spell oxen? How do you spell free?
Wait, that's literally what the frick? Wow. Okay then. All right.
There you
Thank
go.
you. Gosh.
It's one of those artsy indie games, so there it is. And who said their top 5 was full of like artsy indie games
Pro?
stuff? Yeah,
That was
Me.
Crow. They said that.
yeah.
Okay, then let me know when you're heading back. I think by the time you get back, we'll be like approaching top 3s. I'm gonna save mine for the end. I'm just gonna do all mine in one go, so we can finish
Alright.
Luis's list, and you can do what you gotta do.
Alright. Well, I'll be back in a little bit. See ya.
See ya. Luis, did you say your number 3 yet, or no?
Not yet.
Okay, making sure.
So, my number 3 it's gonna belong to Halo 3.
Yo.
Halo 3 is a very good conclusion to the original trilogy that
Finish
they had
the
going
fight.
on with the Halo series before it got weird.
that's a fair
Before the
assessment.
addition of certain Spartan locks.
Yeah, we don't talk about 5.
Oh god. And
You know-
or 4.
Oh yeah. See, I like
Jesus
something.
Christ.
My favorite thing about 4 was Cortana. That's it.
To be
Jesus
honest,
Christ, just
I want to replay 4 because when I played 4, I rented it and I beat it so fast that I don't remember if I actually beat the whole game or not. I feel like I might have missed something because I
Whoa.
legit don't remember what happens in 4 at all.
Do you remember how it ended?
I don't know. I know he fights some thing, like alien thing, and like there's a cut scene that's like super dramatic. I don't know. This is why I want to replay the game because it's like a favorite dream.
4 is the one that introduces the Forerunners.
Yeah, like
And
Yeah.
also just, here is gun, but now it look different. Don't matter, don't pay attention to the fact that these are the exact same guns that the other alien groups and even the Marines had. But they're weird and funky and made out of shapes.
yeah, I was
So
gonna
don't
say
pay
you
attention
get to
to the
use
fact
the
that they function the
Forerunner
same.
guns, right?
They're basically Tron weapons in Halo.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're Tron
right.
weapons, and they are not original. There's nothing new. They
Yeah.
control exactly like any, like they specifically function like other guns, other pre-existing guns, and it's not like they're new reinterpretations of it. I mean, I remember later on they just had a fucking needle rifle, but it was called something else. And it's just
Forerunner
like,
Needler.
no, fuck off.
Yeah, so
Like, as well as since they're supposed to have like superior weapons, why do they play the exact same way?
they're honestly like some of them weren't even that good when they came out too. They had
Yeah, no.
a lot of them.
Oh, that's pretty freaking whack. Hey, this is why Halo
And-
3 is probably gonna be considered the greatest, well, if not
It's
one
it's
Isn't
I-
it 2?
I am going to be a
It's hard.
hipster here and say that I like Halo 3 ODST and Halo Reach. If you're not familiar with ODST, you're playing as troopers
yeah,
rather than
it's the in
Spartans.
between.
Yeah, it's before
know
3 happens, but it's right after 2. So it's in
Yeah.
between.
Oh wait, go ahead,
man.
Luis. What?
Man, you know what, Ronald?
What?
I want you to replace 3 with Reach.
That's fair.
And
In
Yeah,
fact,
I
since you
can't
say
believe
that,
it.
I honestly will probably put Halo 3 for mine. Because, actually, now we're getting a little bit into nostalgia territory, but Halo 3
Yeah.
is just super impactful for me.
Now-
Yeah.
If like
you're gonna finish the fight?
It. Dude.
oh fuck, and the ending sequence to Reach always got me.
Oh man, yeah, dude. Like honestly, Reach was the first Halo game to actually like, and the only Halo game to actually make me feel things, like legitimately. Like
I was gonna say, I don't
was-
know
the whole story
if
with
this
Noble
is.
Team is fantastic.
ODST also made me feel things, but yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, I
You
don't
should
know if
too.
this is spoiler territory at this point. Because, like, I don't know if people, like, still haven't played or seen the story of Halo. If you
I
haven't seen the
recommend-
story of Halo Reach by now, I'm kind of surprised. Like, how do you not get spoiled of this game?
it's 11 years old, dude.
That's also like the opening to the franchise. It's the main prequel. They reference it in every game.
Yeah,
it's
like,
true.
so, like, I don't know how you would play Halo but not know the story of Reach by now.
Yeah,
But
Reach,
yeah, I will only, but that's also why I'm only saying the ending sequence personally, because
yeah.
I will state that Halo Reach and ODST play fairly similarly,
Yeah, pretty
like
much.
chapter-wise, not gameplay-wise. ODST, you actually have to deal with the fact that you don't really have a shield, which I think is
'Cause
fun as
you're
fuck.
You're a normal dude.
Yeah, you're a Marine. You know, don't misunderstand me. you are a bad motherfucker for an unmodified human.
You're basically Krillin, but like in the context of what you are, you're still a very capable person.
Yeah, no. And whereas Spartans are these fucking bioengineer, fucking 6-foot tall motherfuckers, 8-foot tall in armor.
And were kidnapped from parents and replaced with clones.
Shoutouts to Halo.
They are.
That's
But
hot.
but yeah, you have that. So
all-time
meanwhile you're playing this average height just soldier. And you're still dealing with the fucking same shit that, hey, you know, Master Chief is tearing through their numbers. Yeah. Master Chief is doing that. You're not.
Yeah, so with Halo Reach,
bro.
Some of the characters are pretty memorable. You know, freaking George, Emil, Kat, because she always drove you off the fucking edge for some reason. Like when she was driving a Warthog.
Gosh.
Kat's AI was great.
Yeah,
I
Kat's
actually
AI was
unlocked
pretty
her helmet.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. If you didn't know, you could actually unlock all of their helmets for PvP, as well as a couple of them would also unlock for the Xbox character icons. So like your little fucking model.
You got
dude.
their helmets for achievements.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, plus you could get the voice packs for like Master Chief, Cortana.
I remember I
even-
had the
and
anti-dot
Sergeant.
voice pack because I liked being a little AI during firefight.
Yeah.
I
But
like pummeling an elite to death and then hearing Sanders indicates that you are dead.
so yeah, for those that are like not too aware about like what Halo Reach's story is about, think of a movie that actually was inspired by Reach, that being Rogue One.
Oh yes.
So
Rogue One is.
Oh my
yeah,
god.
that's
Rogue One
phenomenal.
is
Yeah, it's the best
basically
Star Wars movie.
Oh my god, I never realized that.
Yeah, it's basically
Oh,
the same
frick.
way it ends.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's a phenomenal movie, and yeah, no, it's.
Dang. It just blew my freaking mind.
Yeah.
And like I said, ODST plays damn similar, even down to the dwindling numbers mechanic. But yeah,
So
It's good.
yeah, it's
Or go
good
ahead,
stuff, man. So yeah, I'll keep it going. My number 2. God, I've been going back and forth with this, but you know what? Considering that number 1 had more time to cook in the oven, I'm gonna say that my number 2 is Devil May Cry 5.
Devil
Like,
May Cry.
I know I sound like a freaking broken record, just
I
sucking
mean,
the
as
absolute
far as I
dick out of
know,
Devil May
it's a
Cry.
good freaking game.
It's honestly, it's my top 3 of all, like.
All I'm
all
gonna
time
have to
favorite
say
video
is, you're gonna have to take it from me.
Yeah. As he sits on a freaking lawn chair.
Yep.
But yeah, man, I love the build up of the entire story. Like, I know that I'm trying to talk about 5 specifically, but something about the entirety of like the Dante and Virgil story, it's a really good way to kind of bookend the story so far.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's
Between the
built
two?
up throughout the whole series, isn't it?
It really is, and like because it's not necessarily them trying to kill each other. It's more of like their ideologies kind of battling each other constantly
Yeah.
because of the the experiences that they had as a kid, as kids. But like Nero being a part of that feels fluid. Like it feels like it was meant to belong in there. It makes sense about how Nero was able to even like stand a chance, considering Dante and Virgil had already just fought.
Yeah.
So honestly, the entire story, man, I was completely glued in throughout the entire thing. V as a character was definitely interesting, even though he was basically Kylo Ren. But aside from that, like, I really don't have any major gripes. You know, the comedy was genuine. Nico and Nero as like a brother sister relationship was
Very funny
cute.
dynamic.
It was fun. They're very funny. I enjoyed the ending with the Devil May Cry joke, but nonetheless, I do hope, and I am confident that like Lady and Trish will have their own DLC like story as well, because those two have been used very, very little in the story. But nonetheless, man, I have like little to no gripes with the game in terms of story, gameplay. Like, I still play it, man. It's so much fun. Okay, so that is my number 2. So my number 1 was definitely the hardest to pick because more of the franchise as well. Like, I really wanted to add the entire series of this like particular section of the franchise, but if I were to pick one specifically, damn, I'm gonna have to say Black Ops 2.
Black Ops 2.
Honestly, man, like, I had never been so interested in a story like I have with Black Ops 2. Like, when you obviously you need to have like the first Black Ops game as reference to understand some of the story.
Yeah.
But once you do have that kind of context, man, that story is brutal. Like, the Black Ops series and Call of Duty, let alone most Call of Duty games, have never been shy of like being controversial, being dark, being edgy, like realistic, man.
Yeah.
Like, what's it like to be in the middle of a war? They show you. They show you all the gory details. So
I mean-
to have less emphasis on war and just more of a personal story in Black Ops 2, it's refreshing because
yeah,
you get
no,
to
no,
understand.
Sorry, no, I'll
go
absolutely
ahead.
give you that, but I wouldn't say that overall Call of Duty is like glance at war. Now, some of the more recent games, yes, but like quite a few of them are obviously picking sides, and I'm talking about in conflicts. Like, obviously, you know, having Nazis be the bad guy isn't a bad thing, but in conflicts like Cold War situations, making Russians... Yeah, anyways.
No, I get what you mean. Like, Cold War was a very good idea. Like, the option to actually choose the Russians as your side, I'm like, whoa, I was not expecting that. But,
Yeah, no, it's good to see them, like, showing more options, because again, but at the same time, there are a lot of the older games that just don't. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah,
they
Black Ops 2
obviously
actually
have
gives you
a...
that.
But yeah, there are some games where it's like, no, these are the good guys, these are the bad guys, which I've always had problems with. Because
Yeah, that's right.
perhaps
Most COD games do give you that kind of bias, like American good, everything else bad. But
Yeah.
in terms of like looking outside of that, especially in terms of like dividing the stories on like different outcomes and stuff, Black Ops 2 was the first COD game to really do that. Like,
oh yeah, no, I agree with you. It's one of the best.
yeah, so the idea of like some particular events that happen in the story that can change the outcome of what ending you get was a very good idea. And it wasn't so crazy as it would like turn me away. It's just something I appreciate. Like, there's some, you know, like cameos of real people in there, you know, which was also controversial with a particular country. But nonetheless, you know, like returning characters coming back and then them having a big character arc either taken away or changed. It really makes it feel down to earth, which is what I appreciate about the game. Like, is it biased? Maybe. because it's like more gameplay stuff than I think about. But honestly, man, I don't get tired of watching that story, especially since it has a great cast of like voice actors in it. So yeah, man, that's my list. That's all she wrote. So I'm gonna head out for
Pretty
now.
good.
Thank you guys for having me,
Thanks for hopping in.
and get your vaccinations, kids.
Yep.
All right, y'all. You have a good night.
You too.
Luis.
Alrighty. So, I don't think MCM is still even here yet.
Hey, Ronald, can you hear me?
He is still muted.
I was just gonna say, gotta leave soon. I think I better recite my top 4. I am next on this. Let me check the list.
I have no objections to letting you do your top 4.
Do not worry, comrade. Oh, here's a fun thing. Comrade is actually a French word.
Makes sense?
Yeah.
I want to
forget-
point out, really quick, just as a side note, I really liked how we were talking about how cool it was to get a more human side of war while happy Mighty Switch Force music was playing. It was a very nice... It was a very good paradigm. I enjoyed that greatly.
It is for ironic reasons, which are the best reasons. Sorry, I fucking love the health thing abridged.
Need to go back and finish it.
Und wir Nazis. Und wir Vampires. Sorry. I'm sorry, that fucking scene gets me. I also like the line of, like... Yeah, sorry about dorking out. But yeah. Sorry, somebody's about to list off their stuff.
Wait, sorry. I made it back. So, who said what? What were y'all talking about?
Our good friend
So I'm-
Papercuts will be needing to go soon.
Oh, did you
Yes, I'm just gonna list the top 4 right now. You said you were going to be saving your list for last, right? Because I'd be next on the list if that's the case. Because I don't think what's his name MCM is here yet. So will that be okay?
You can go ahead.
All right. So number 4 is going to be let's see, where was it? Just 1 second, please. Okay, so number 4 is going to be Grand Theft Auto 4.
Where's a good pick?
Wait, David, you said Grand Theft Auto 4?
GTA
Yes.
4.
Yeah.
GTA 4 for 4.
That, gosh dang it. Actually, coincidence, funny you say that. I'm gonna need to go. I'll still leave everything up. I'm just unfortunately gonna be gone for a bit. David,
How long is
you
the
can,
bet?
Probably like 15, 20 minutes. David, you can still list stuff off, but can you just type your list in Discord and then I'll update it
I'll do that.
as I go.
I'll
And
do
then
that.
afterwards, David, Esteban, you can go ahead and give me your list. Does that sound good?
Sounds like a plan to me.
Okay. Sorry. Thank you guys. So go ahead. I'll be back.
Okay, so the reason why I picked Grand Theft Auto 4 is because of all the Grand Theft Auto games, see, most of the Grand Theft Auto games are kind of over the top, exaggerated and all that, and sometimes even a little bit comedic, or I should say dark. It's basically dark comedy stories. But what I really like about Grand Theft Auto 4, I really like how they really changed pace, how they suddenly made a dark, serious, and I would even say in some ways a realistic game. And I also really liked how diverse it was, and it also did a great job at duplicating New York City. That was also really great, and the voice acting was great. The villains were great, and I like how all the villains had like very different personalities, and how you could do the missions in like different order and all that. And it was also a very culturally diverse game. It's the first part of the game. It basically has a Russian theme. Then later in the game there's an Italian theme, and so on. So I really like how culturally diverse it was, and how each section of the game had a unique theme to it, which I thought was really good. I'm trying to be as spoiler free as possible. So I also like all the mini games and the fun activities there were to do. And it was a really great game, and Nico Bellic is one of the greatest protagonists of all time, in my opinion. I really like how he kept trying to stay out of the life of crime, but he kept, of course, it's a Grand Theft Auto game, not really spoiling it because it's a Grand Theft Auto game, how you basically end up doing crime missions. So and I also like his vengeful personality, how he's seeking revenge. I'm not going to spoil how that turns out. But anyways, that's why I really like the game. And I do like the recent Grand Theft Auto games and the Red Dead games, but of all the recent Rockstar games that I've played, I would decide to put GTA 4 on the list because it's, in my opinion, the best story of all the Rockstar games. Even though Rockstar has made a lot of good games.
I agree entirely with a bunch of what you've said about the villains. Like, a good story lives and dies by its characters. A good plot lives and dies by that. So the fact that, like, the way Nico grows and develops through the story, the way he interacts with the different antagonists, like, it's definitely a big role in what makes it so good.
Do you want to go bowling?
And then, of course, there's that. Like, you're totally correct on that front. Like, Grand Theft Auto 4 did a great job with how varied the antagonists were, with how Nico changes throughout the story. It's great.
Yeah, and what a small detail I like is that one particular thing I'm going to say before I move on to number 3. It's interesting when I play Grand Theft Auto 5. If you play Grand Theft Auto 5 at just basically off the bat, don't know nothing about the Grand Theft Auto 4 story, it's basically going to seem like a kind of an action comedy, and even maybe a comedy TV series in some ways. But it's very interesting. If you actually play Grand Theft Auto 5 right after playing Grand Theft Auto 4, it's actually much easier to see more than a few references. I wouldn't say there are. In fact, I wouldn't say there's a lot of references, but there's more than a few Grand Theft Auto references, and Grand Theft Auto 4 references in GTA 5. So I kind of got over the place. What I'm trying to say is that I really like how if you play Grand Theft Auto 4 and then immediately play Grand Theft Auto 5, that Grand Theft Auto 5 would actually seem different, but in a good way. It would actually seem more serious because it'd be a lot easier to spot all the Grand Theft Auto 4 references in Grand Theft Auto 5. So that's one of the reasons why I appreciate GTA 4, because it makes it actually makes GTA 5 story more enjoyable.
Howdy.
Welcome.
How's everybody been?
Good.
We're pretty good.
Discussion. Ronald is currently AFK, so
Alright, because I was gonna put one of my favorites in before I go back to another server for a bit. I think one of my top 5. I believe this one goes back to like my first Japanese RPG.
Just as a heads up before you get too far into it, type it in the Shenanigans chat, so that way when we get back to it and Ronald comes back, he can put it on the list.
Oh, sure.
I do
I'm staying my list then. Go right ahead.
You were finished, so I'm sorry. I am so sorry for interrupting.
I was just, I was actually almost finished anyways. All those things that, the Grand Theft Auto 4 story does, it actually makes Grand Theft Auto 5 more enjoyable because you can see, it's much easier to see the Grand Theft Auto 4 references that Grand Theft Auto 5 has. So, and also one other thing I want to say is that if you play Red Dead Redemption 2, there are actually some Grand Theft Auto 4 references in Red Dead Redemption 2 if you look carefully. So, that's just a quick thing I wanted to say. But anyways, that's all I pretty much had to say for number 4. So go right ahead, MM.
Alright, because a lot of my stories mostly go around with RPGs. So I think my favorite one would be number 5 would be Golden Sun. So there'll be the first 2 GBA games. Like the story of the lighthouses, alchemy, and everything. Like it's simplistic, but like the whole story, like learning the whole ancient civilization, and then finding, lighting up the 4 lighthouses and actually having a twist with it. It's kind of really fun. It's a really cool story in of itself. And then like it has a happy ending at the end of it. Like you basically Isaac and all their parents, you find out that they're kind of dead, but then you find them revived. He kind of revives them after you light up the Mars lighthouse at the end. If you guys don't care about spoilers, but honestly, it's just more of a nostalgia pick. It's just like a nostalgia pick. So, Golden Sun, The Lost Age, I would put. It's one of my favorite stories. Let's see. Well, kind of a favorite plot. It's like the series is not done as a whole yet. They haven't gotten to 4. They haven't had Golden Sun 4. Hashtag Golden Sun 4 revival win. Let's see. What was another favorite? I guess this would be Metal Gear Solid. At least up to 4, because everything that was set up from Metal Gear, from all the other Metal Gears, ends in this little ribbon that I call with Metal Gear Solid 4. That's why I consider it like one of the better plots, one of my favorite video game plots. So I'll be number 4. Alright, and I think that's it. Metal Gear.
Good stuff.
Let's see, what else? Chrono Trigger. Number 2.
Chrono Trigger is good.
Chrono Trigger.
I
Very
seriously thought about putting it on my list.
Because, well, I'm not gonna put Chrono Cross on there.
Yep.
I honestly feel like Chrono Trigger, just the game itself, had a good story in of itself. Like Chrono Cross is okay, but I never played it. But Chrono Trigger, I like Chrono Trigger a lot better. Its story is really good. There's character development and pretty good. Final Fantasy 8. Final Fantasy 8.
8.
Yeah, no. Most people play 7. Most people put 7 on their list. Most people put 7 as their favorite story. Me, I put 8. And the reason why I put 8. Huh?
I'd that's 8 is one I don't hear a lot of love for, so I'm happy to see some love for it.
It's one of my favorite. I have the game, I have never played it yet. But I'm gonna start playing that. But I remember I spoiled myself watching a walkthrough of this game before I got it, and just seeing the development of like Leon oh god dang. It says Leon from Kingdom Hearts. Wow.
Leon from Kingdom Hearts. Your favorite FNAF.
Yeah,
I was about to say FNAF.
Did you say FNAF character?
Yeah. Yes, Leon from favorite FNAF character who makes a debut in the final.
Because Squall, Leon's name is Leon, but it's Squall, so. But I like Squall's character development from what he, if you guys know what you know, so. If you guys know, you guys know. But just seeing how Squall develops as his character, it's it's really kind of cool because like I can kind of resonate with that myself, you know, being a loner and all that stuff. And then, you know, he goes into his quest and you see him, you know, he starts growing up, so. Okay. I think that's it for all the three, so I'm gonna head out. I'll probably be back for the other two.
Okay.
Thanks for the contribution.
See ya.
Alright, I'll see you guys later.
Okay, so for number 3, any comments about Grand Theft Auto 4 before I move on to number 3?
I say move on.
Number 3 is going to be Ghost of Tsushima. Now, I remember when the last stream there was, I remember someone told me that that they did not want any spoilers. And I think the person is here. So, have you completed Ghost of Tsushima yet or not?
I would say go on the safe end and still avoid spoilers.
Spoiler free regardless. You know, because as Ronald said earlier, you know, we want people to get into the story and we don't want to spoil it. But anyways, the reason why I consider Ghost of Tsushima one of the greatest stories in video games of all time, and in fact, not just video games, but in general, stories in general of all time, is because I really like how it was able to, it really did a great job at duplicating ancient Japan, you know, the map. And and fun fact, you know, the same company that made Sly Cooper made Ghost of Tsushima. I don't know if many people know that. And
what are you talking about? They're exactly identical.
Okay, I don't know if that was a troll comment or not, but
It was.
yeah.
It was.
Yeah, he's clearly a fox.
He's clearly a fox going through
Totally
Japan.
understandable.
But yeah, keep going.
Yeah. So, anyways, as I was saying, that the Ghost of Tsushima, the plot itself was really great. The voice acting was great, and to be honest, I actually like to play it in Japanese. The Japanese dub was also really good, and I like how it was able to duplicate basically the Mongol invasion history, but add an original story to it, and it even had some great plot twists. And this is kind of spoiler-ish, but it's just a minor spoiler. For people, anybody in the Twitch chat, before I say anything, this is just kind of like, it's a very small spoiler, but is there anybody who's kind of objects to that or anything? Alright, anyone in the chat, like here right now, anyone in here?
Well, I say go for it.
Okay, so I would just say I also really appreciate the fact that besides the Mongols, you also fought the Straw Hat, basically Straw Hat Ronin. That was also a really good twist to it, and I really liked the story arc where you would basically duel a certain amount of Ronin before facing I'll just say it there to prevent spoilers, but I like that particular story. And the only downside I would say is that some of the side missions could maybe get a little bit draggy sometimes, but you know, maybe the side missions were really unique, and I especially like the tales where you would basically hunt down, you know, quote unquote mythical tales. I think that's what they called it. I haven't played it in a while. I'm a little fuzzy regarding that, but I did like the side missions. The main story was great, and especially the final boss battle. I mentioned this before, but the final boss battle is one of the greatest boss battles of all time. Not only is it a great boss battle, but it's also really great story-wise and all that. So that's basically this. You know, again, this is spoiler-free version, so it's a little bit hard to explain. But before I move on to number 2, are there any comments? Going once,
Not so
going
familiar
twice.
with the game.
Alright, say go for it.
What were you saying?
Not so familiar with the game, so no comments.
All right. So, in that case, and number 2 is, and please don't laugh at the puns. It's okay, you can laugh. It's going to be Modern Warfare 2. So,
Hey.
yeah, any laugh? Anyone gonna laugh? Go ahead, and laugh.
I mean, you had Grand Theft Auto 4 for 4. You
So,
got
2
2 for 2.
Yeah, that was me. Yeah, that's
You got your trend
sorry,
going on.
That was me faking a laugh, and I failed miserably. Anyways, so, anyways, all jokes aside, in Modern Warfare 2, the reason it's one of the greatest stories of all time, and of all Call of Duty stories, in my opinion, Modern Warfare 2 is the best because I really like how. So first of all, before I say anything, normally we're kind of trying to make spoiler-free explanations. Modern Warfare 2 is a really old game, so like, does anyone mind any spoilers or anything?
Go for it.
So I'll just say this is that I thought the plot twist, the big plot twist that everybody will know who plays the game knows what I'm talking about. That plot twist at the end where the quote unquote final boss turned out to be someone you didn't see coming. That is one of the greatest plot twists of all time. It was a really emotional scene, especially the remastered version on the PS4. Remember the campaign remastered. They actually added in a slight detail where the protagonist they actually add in more dimension to the protagonist. If you see it on YouTube, you'll know what if you play the game, you'll know what I'm talking about. And I just thought that one detail added so much more emotion to it. And I also, especially the final battle had a really great cutscene where you had to, where you kept trying to pursue to kill the final bad guy, and not to mention the fact that the soundtrack was just absolutely incredible. After the plot twist, how you see that emotional impact, and then you suddenly see a mission breaking, you're like, oh wow, this is everything's really going on. So and not to mention the fact that the main villain, the person who's supposedly the main villain, was also had a original personality. I like how he basically was able to counter a strategy, and I know even though that it does have one of the most controversial video game scenes of all time, that it still did a good job contributing to the story. You see a lot of people when they look at that scene like, oh man, that's such a horrifying scene, but as even though it can be very horrifying to people who for some people, is that particular scene I was actually really did set up the whole plot, and I like how the main villain, or the supposed main villain, was able to basically counter the strategy. So, any comments, regarding Modern Warfare 2 or anything?
Oh, it's a really solid game and one of the best, just Modern Warfares in general.
I'll agree with your point about that one particular scene that was graphic, especially because they warned it, they have a warning you can skip it. I still stand by that, even just as an art choice of what better way to show the evil you're up against. What better way to just directly show the evil and what they're capable of doing and what they do. Having you play it is a little weird, and I can understand the complaints, but the point is still made. It's a great way to show, these are the bad guys, and look at what they're willing to do.
If this is the one scene in the crowded area, okay. Fun fact: even if you are participating in that scene, you don't skip it. You actually don't even have to fire your weapon.
Yep, you can just walk. But I still will stand. I'll agree with your point there though about it. It does play a role in the story. It is a very real way to show, this is the malice they do.
Yeah, no, this is what they're willing to do, and you need to accept that, and
Yep.
Yeah, and again, artistically speaking, how do I put it? It was I think that it's nice that they decided to how do I put this? I think it was nice that they decided to make it so that way you could skip it, but at the same time, to a certain degree, once you sign up for a game, I believe that you're sort of agreeing to experience everything in it. Right. The good, the bad, the ugly. And frankly, at the end of it, if you don't enjoy the game, well, that happens. And because they are stories. It is art. So the fact that you don't agree with the artistic depiction of it doesn't mean that it's bad. It just probably means you don't like it.
Yeah.
Sorry about getting artsy fartsy there, but
I can see what you're saying. It's basically how a lot of people overlook the fact that Modern Warfare 2 had that controversial scene was actually really contributed to the story. A lot of people did overlook that, and that's, as you say, they couldn't really see the quote unquote art of the story that
There's a
art
point
that
to that scene.
contributed to the story.
Wait, I just came back.
What are you
Was that
saying?
your number 2? Was Modern Warfare 2?
Yeah, I'm discussing that. And so basically for number 3 was Ghost of Tsushima, and number 2, right, which I'm discussing right now, is Modern Warfare 2. So yeah. Anyways, well, I just want to say I can see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Anyways, and one other thing I wanted to add in before I move to number 1 is nobody actually, I don't hear many people talk about this in Modern Warfare 2. They either talk about that controversial scene or the big plot twist, but a scene I really thought was great was when you were to basically this is basically spoiler free language here. Basically you play as soldiers from England and soldiers in America, and there's actually a mission where you're doing a stealth mission with that's with the soldiers from England, and you actually have to stop basically stop something from happening, and they basically, spoiler free, basically the crap hits the fan. And then it's amazing how then you suddenly see it from an astronaut's perspective, and then you suddenly see it from the American soldier's perspective, and all of that together really just it really is a great scene story-wise, and how one thing, and how one basically disaster leads to another, and especially the emotional impact after that was really great. And if you play Modern Warfare 2, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, honestly, I'm glad you brought that up, because I know usually with Call of Duty, people just only talk about the multiplayer, or they talk about the campaign. Like, no one cares about the campaign, it's just the same, blah, blah, blah. Honestly, Modern Warfare 2's campaign is kind of like the campaign that got me to actually care about the single player content of these games, because it's honestly pretty darn good. Especially like going into Modern Warfare 3 and like actually concluding like everything that you go through, or the characters go through. So like, especially moments like what you mentioned, though it's moments like that that really make me like the campaign of Modern Warfare.
Yeah, especially Modern Warfare 2. I do like all the campaigns of Modern Warfare. I really like Modern Warfare 1. Modern Warfare 3, in my opinion, was the weakest, but I still thought it was pretty good in some ways. But Modern Warfare 2, in my opinion, is a real gem. It really is a diamond among coal. Yeah. So before I move on to number 1, are there any go ahead.
Or no, I was gonna say, what tops that on your list then?
All right. So any other comments about MW2 before I go into number 1?
Alright, go right ahead.
All right, so number 1, now I was really debating between Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, because they're both really great games. They're both of those games are a real gem. But if I'm sticking to my to the self-made rule, one game per franchise, I can only pick one of them. And after thinking about it, I decided to pick Fallout New Vegas.
Hey,
Fallout New Vegas.
Yeah.
it's a great
Fallout New
narrative.
Vegas.
Vegas.
Yeah, exactly. Great narrative, great voice acting, great creativity in the missions. Each mission is very unique, and the DLC is incredible. And I've already talked about this in a previous video, so I won't talk about those particular details. But what I will say is that one detail I like is how all the DLC actually are kind of connected to each other in a way, and connected to the main game. And I really like the fact that each faction, there's no such thing as a real good side. There's clearly a more evil side, but there's no such thing as a real good side. And I would say the one particular DLC that decided to make In fact, I'm gonna type in Ultimate Edition in the chat. Just give me 1 second, please, because that has all the DLC. But the one thing that made this number one is there's a DLC called Lonesome Road that is just such a great DLC story wise, and it really is like a real conclusion to the game, and it's basically just has an epic backstory that basically leads to a big battle, and I won't say much else. And I also like how it's very diverse. There's kind of like a futuristic scientific theme, and then there's kind of like a native tribe theme to it in each DLC, and those I really that in my opinion did contribute to the creativity it had. And I also like the faction battles, how you can easily get into a faction battle. It's basically like a bunch of creativity merged into one game, and it basically, in my opinion, takes the creativity Fallout 3 had and then takes it to a whole nother level. And they did do a good job, in my opinion, of duplicating what's left of Las Vegas. Even though that kind of sounds crazy when I say duplicating post-apocalyptic Vegas. Let's hope that never happens or anything. But anyways, I'm just saying they did do a good job at making it recognizable, making Las Vegas recognizable while still making it Fallout 3. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, one thing that I will ask you now is, have you played Fallout 2? If not,
Fallout 2, I have not.
If you love Fallout 1, if you love New Vegas, you will love 2.
I'll keep that in mind.
It was written by the same people, and it is a small world, but every single thing that you interact with makes sense. There's a lot more like characters reacting to your stats. You remember there's a couple things where like having low intelligence gives you unique interactions. That happens almost constantly in Fallout 2, as does having high intelligence.
Yeah.
So your stats are checked a lot more. Their entire different interactions. One of my personal favorite interactions in Fallout 2 is your character, if you have, I think it's around like up to 2 intelligence, there's a point at which you can go to a working casino and your character will freak the fuck out because the like slot machine made noises at you, and your character will panic because it's a scary robot. But yeah, it has all the written charm of New Vegas. Hell, I'd say more. The only thing to keep in mind is it's a top-down, third-person turn-based game. So, and it plays a bit more like Dota than when it comes to menuing and movement in the world. Sorry, I forgot the game that I was thinking of, but yeah, sorry. It's a top-down game, and it's turn-based. Basically, imagine you're constantly playing with VATS.
Yeah, I think the reason why it's turn-based is because this was like before Bethesda bought the Fallout franchise, right?
Yes, this was back when Obsidian was the developer. They also made KOTOR, for reference, for just their storytelling prowess.
See.
They made KOTOR and Outer Worlds, I think it was, is their most recent game.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I'm thinking of getting Outer Worlds. I've heard it's pretty good.
It's phenomenal. It is everything that I love about the Fallout series, but put into outer space.
No.
But yeah, I highly recommend you pick up Halo 2 sometime. It's actually fairly cheap.
Well, yeah, I'll keep that in mind. But what was also great, and this isn't really a story, but what I really like about Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas is I like how it's a combination of, like, you know, Fallout. Because I have seen a little bit of the original, the 3 Bethesda Fallout games online on YouTube. I've seen a little bit of it. So I like how it's a fusion of, like, Elder Scrolls and Fallout, basically. And I thought that was
sick as hell. Yeah.
So, yeah, and what I really liked about another thing I really liked about New Vegas was how big the map was, how there was like so many quests to do, and how each of the quests were very unique. And one particular detail that another thing that led me to make this at number one was how many of the quests you actually didn't have to go guns blazing or kill anyone. You didn't end up having to be like John Wick. In many of the quests, you could actually settle it with like different skill levels. You could maybe like negotiate or persuade someone, or maybe or maybe even set something up to happen, kind of like manipulate people into doing things and all that. And those particular details, I thought, did a great job in making a great story for some of the quests. And again, I thought all the quests were really unique. It was not many of the quests were really similar to each other. Many of them were very unique and very creative, and there's just so much to do in that game. And one last thing I would like to mention before concluding my explanation is the Dead Money DLC, one of the greatest DLCs of all time. Had such a great story to it as well, where you basically think of it as basically turning from an RPG game to suddenly a survival horror game. And that's one of the DLCs of Fallout New Vegas, is that you basically have to go through a survival horror like game to get into, think of it as a Resident Evil 1 like game. Resident Evil 1 game, basically to get through the story and back into the main game. And that itself also had a great story because there were some other unique and original characters in there, and I won't say anything else because I don't want to cause any spoilers, but I'll just say that particular thing is such a great game, such a really dark and gritty story, and it was also another factor to making Fallout New Vegas Ultimate Edition, in my opinion, the greatest video game story of all time. So, any comments?
I want to go a little bit off of what you said about like not having to go in guns blazing. Like the way New Vegas does that is phenomenal, because it's not even limited just to skills. Like there's parts where it'll check multiple possible skills. Like you don't just need a high speech to talk. It's like, no, if you have good sneak or good speech, you can convince them in 1 to 2 ways. And then there's also like faction ratings. Like some things will have different dialogues if you have different perks or different faction ratings. And I think perhaps my favorite is in Lonesome Road. One of the first dialogues you have with the main guy in Lonesome Road, he'll ask you about your allegiance. And you have a special dialogue option for whoever your allegiance is with the main faction. So NCR, Mr. House, Caesar's Legion. But if you don't have a lot of points in your faction, he will know and call you out and say, you're not committed. You're a poser.
Yeah, I agree.
And he'll call you out on it. And I'm like, that's amazing. It keeps you the story factors in not just like your relationships and skills, but how devoted you are to your relationships and factions. It plays a major role, and that's really impressive. Like that's really good.
Yeah, I agree. And also, I think you mentioned in another video, the boss battle in one of the DLCs is one of the greatest boss battles of all time, and I agree with that.
in Old World Blues.
Actually, I also would like to point out just the ability to talk down Caesar.
Yep.
Though that is kind of also something that happens in 2 as well. You can actually the guy who invented super mutants is one of the people you go going against, and you can basically go all science on him and explain some stuff. I'm not going to be
and convince
exactly
them like, hey, your plan's not good. Stop it.
Yeah, basically, and that you can talk him down, and there's also another funny interaction is if you walk up with 1 intelligence, he'll fucking kill himself because this idiot foils his plans. I'm not even joking. If you have 1 intelligence and you get to him, he fucking commits suicide because you were who fucked up his plan. And
He's just like, this is what stopped me, I'm out.
Yeah.
Which Fallout is it?
Fallout 2. Yeah.
Oh my god.
I fucking love Fallout 2.
If I remember right, if you have 1 intelligence in Fallout 1 and 2, can't you not even speak?
Uh-huh. Yeah,
You're not
you
even
do a
smart
lot of
enough
like
for
Uncle
talking.
Bungle and like, me think that's scary. It's a lot more like that than it is full sentences. Like
Also-
when I was talking about getting scared shitless by the slot machine, I believe it's the lines more appropriately. Middleman, me run. I also love that if you have 1 intelligence, there's like this important continual like NPC, and she talks very slowly to you. You need Gek, understand?
Dang. I really do.
It's fucking amazing.
Also, I was gonna say, for the rest of this list, in fact, with Esteban and moving forward, you guys can go ahead and just list off your whole top 5, because I'm probably gonna need to wrap this up soon.
Sounds like
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
MCM never got back to you guys for his number 5, did he?
Not yet, but I have a feeling I'll be back.
Okay.
Okay.
Esteban, go ahead and give your list then.
Hey, I just want to quickly say, thank you for letting me in the stream and discuss games. And I have to leave. But yeah, again, it's good discussing games, and thank you for letting me in.
No worries. Thanks for bringing up this
Thanks for being
idea. Like I figured, there's a bunch of games here mentioned that I really do want to play. It's just a question of what am I gonna get through first.
Also, want to just
Obviously,
say
you're
real
going-
quick, you've been really good at suggesting topics. Like, a bunch of the topics for these past things have been like, oh, there's this thing they brought up. Like, really good. Like, you bring up good discussions. So, thanks for
Maybe
being here and
based
helping
on all
out.
the good ideas, honestly.
Yeah.
Clearly, you're going. Clearly, B-boy, you're going to go through my list of honorable mentions of really depressing horror games.
Oh my gosh. Why is every time it's like, hey yo, B-boy, you should play this game. It's so sad. You're gonna
Play
I
Death
will,
Premonition, it's funny.
I will fully admit, Wada no Hara, which is one of my favorite games of all time, makes you sit through 2 bad endings before you can see the true ending, which is neutral at best.
That's depressing.
Yes.
This is why you play Deadly Premonition and you laugh at the funny agent.
Why can't y'all recommend me more games? Like I just want to be
Play
happy.
Mighty Switch Force.
Yeah, actually, I forgot to tell you I started
Yoo-hoo!
Mighty Switch Force.
Just
I
play
also made-
Shantae.
Yeah, keep playing Shantae.
See, these are the nice recommendations.
Seriously, Shantae is great.
Shantae's
Hey,
been
guys,
really fun so far.
Alright,
Okay, guys, I gotta go. Have a good night. Bye.
Alright.
you too.
Have a good night.
Esteban, go ahead and go through the rest of your list.
Okay. So, let's see. So, number 4, I'm probably gonna put, like, God of War PS4 on there.
Oh,
Because that was something where I didn't expect to get so invested into it. And I was like, I was like, this is really good. It had a very good arc. And I was like, this is pretty sick. And for context, I always kind of looked at God of War from the side, and I was kind of like, it's whatever. But like, I always kind of kept up with the lore for the conversation. But then, like, when you see all that kind of like pay off, it's just like, or get like come back, I was like, that's pretty sick. And the way that they kind of handle the relationships of like these characters, I'm like, this is dope as fuck. So it's like that's like a number 4. Spoilers. Some of these are like recent shit. So there's some bias around it. That I'm just like I can't remember a lot of shit on top of my head to really be like, oh yeah, let me go back. I could have recommended this or that. So there's some recency bias in this list, by the way.
Okay.
Let's see. So right now, my number 3 is probably a Fate Grand Order story, and it's not higher on the list because it's not done. But from everything I've,
technically ever end.
I mean, it's gonna end at some point, but where the story's been going so far,
forever.
it's really good, and when they capped it off from the first chapter, going into like this mid fillerish chapter, which kind of gets brought up later, and then going into like the proper second chapter, it gets like it's going into the second chapter. It's kind of like a roller coaster. And I'm just like, and then when you kind of like think about it, it's just like, man, this is some fucked up shit.
Okay.
So, and I'm like, and again, it's like my number 3 because like it's why I play this game for, and why I'm so invested into this shit. And I'm just like, I really want to see it through to the end. Let's see. So number 2 would probably Yakuza Like a Dragon.
Ooh, that was mad good.
That was a really good RPG I played, as well as like my second Yakuza game. Cause the other one I beat was the first one, which was okay. It was pretty good on the PS2. But Like a Dragon, Yakuza 7 was like, that was also just another emotional roller coaster, where just Ichiban just wears his heart on his sleeve, and it's just like, God damn it, man. And like the thing that hurts me the most in that game is the shit that happens to him more often than not. Because you just like, it's the old saying of you hate to see bad things happen to good people, and it's literally that story in a nutshell. And I'm like, God damn it, dude. And it's super good. That's a game I would like. If you love RPGs, like if you like RPGs and you have a fun time with them, and you're like, and you get invested into a story, that game is like so worth it.
It's something I'd be down to give a shot at some point.
It's really worth your time to play, in my opinion. Like I've already got over like, okay, so my only complaint about it, this is the gameplay thing, not the story part, but I'll just get it out of the way, is the fact that like to get beat the final true Millennium Tower, you have to rank up all your job classes to like max, and doing it is such a fucking bore. Like I've added
Actual ground.
like I've added 30 more hours onto my game file than I should have, because of how dumb how dumb Endgame is. But that's besides the point. Besides Endgame being kind of like a slog, I highly recommend this game. This game is like super good. The story's great, and it's one of my favorites. And I can't wait to see where they're gonna go from here. But it was super good. And then my number 1 is probably Persona 4 Golden. Now that's an interesting game because that did something more to me than I didn't think it would. So when I started playing that game, it was around like what, I think 2013, 2014. When I was like living out here in California, and I didn't have any friends at the time. Like and I just moved from Texas. I didn't have like any like, I didn't meet anybody from like from SoCal, Fresno, nobody. I was literally just by myself. Because spoilers, no one could point me in the right direction where people were doing shit. So, anyways, so when I was like by myself for the longest time, that game helped me get through like a interesting period of like not having any friends here. And when after I beat that game, like my thought process after beating that game, like it's really over, and then I just cried afterwards.
Yeah.
Because I was like, damn, that was like a roller coaster, and I really loved that game too. I mean, obviously, like, I kind of sit different with Persona 5 and stuff, but with how that game kind of, like, with the writing and, like, how the characters were and everything, it felt more relatable and believable than, like, say something like in Persona 5 where I couldn't give two shits. Like, I'm sorry, for anybody who likes Persona 5, that's great. I don't.
That's okay. I feel
I'm
the
in
exact
middle
same
of
way
oil,
about
so
Persona
don't
4.
spoil anything new.
Because when you have but there's two Persona 4 and Persona 5's social links, is that a lot of P4's social links felt more relatable, and they were
Honestly,
more grounded.
Yeah.
And with P5, it's like, oh man, like fucking Kanji had a sports thing where he was like pissed off with some coach, that involved his mom, and I just couldn't give a rat's ass, honestly. And was
See-
like having like some modeling thing going on, but that's because she's like a hafu, and I'm just like, I can't relate to that.
See,
Like it
And-
kind of just goes on. Like some of them I enjoy just because I just enjoy like Makoto's, and I didn't get to do Haru's. But the thing is that like no matter what, like those social links just didn't like do much for me.
and I have a problem, and whereas P4 is my like game that I'm bored of, I think it's, excluding one, which we do not talk about, one of the weaker Persona games, at least to me.
What,
Um,
P5?
P4.
Oh, P4?
Yeah, it's like, don't get me wrong, it's not a bad game. Like, if we're talking about games in general, it's like a B. But if we're talking about Persona games, it's a C.
I mean, I'll be honest. Like, I don't care about Persona 3 to be as much as people put that one on a high
hold
pedestal.
Hold on, I'm
I
gonna shut
couldn't
y'all
care
down
about that
right
one.
there because we've gone down this road before, and the main
Yeah,
thing that
so-
It's personal opinion. I just
the
felt that
main
it
thing
was
I want to
weaker.
bring up with the social link thing is the main thing that creates that difference, from what I understand, is the thematic differences between each
Yep.
persona. Persona
Yep.
3, the whole theme of it is the dark, the sadness, and depressive shenanigans, which is why a lot of the social links in P3 are just sad. It's Persona 4,
And I love
a lot
it.
of
Scooby-Doo.
yeah, a lot in Persona 4, a lot of the themes are more introspective. Everyone's just doing much self-reflection, honestly.
It's looking
And-
into yourself, finding the truth, and
Yeah.
it moving forward
and
based
yeah,
on
then
that.
Persona
and-
5 is like the world of adults, basically.
It's about breaking from the reins of social bonds and finding a proper
Yeah.
place in society away from oppression.
Which is why I find 3 and 5s to be more relatable.
Makes
um,
sense. It's entirely a relatability
whereas-
thing because it's a matter of your own personal, like, what resonates more with you and how you view
And
yourself
not
in
to
the world.
mention,
Yeah,
I
that's
also
what
have-
it comes down to.
I also have an extreme soft spot for P3 because it helped me go through some tough situations, which
Right.
is also why I actually maxed out the game's clock.
Nice.
It can no longer record, like my old PS Vita copy
The
can no
internal
longer
clock is
record
just
the
dead.
time. Yeah, no, it's at 9999, like everything is 9, and it no longer records. But yeah, unfortunately, it glitched the fuck out, and now I can't really play anything. But
Though I think there's a problem in a lot of Persona Atlas games. It doesn't even extends to the SMT games, where I think my problem with them is that they kind of beat you over the head with like, do you understand what this theme is about? If not, we're gonna beat it into you some more.
Well, because that's just
Whereas
that's
I
just
felt-
SMTGs
whereas I
in
felt like-
general.
I felt that Persona 4 was much weaker because they were scared to go as dark as Persona 3 after there was such a big backlash. So to me,
Which makes sense. You try
It-
different things, which is why P5 is
yeah,
kind of in the
P4
middle.
P5
Yeah, and so-
narratively for me kind of just fizzles out, honestly.
and P4 feels too much like a Scooby-Doo, which makes me
Which
like-
is why
Yeah.
P5 is like in the middle. In fact, no, to keep it as spoiler-free as possible, P5 honestly feels like it starts out super dark and then like mellows out towards.
Oh
the
yeah,
end.
no,
P5
no,
thematically
definitely.
starts with the
P5
strongest,
Yeah, P5
and
Dungeon
then it
1
gets
is the
weaker
best.
from there, and it's like, darn it.
Which for me
Yeah, that's
personally
like
is
biggest
just
problem
Andy.
is, like-
This is
Hey,
why P5
okay.
is my favorite one.
Also,
it
there's a
comes
certain
out
fighting
swinging and
number I
goes
won't
for a nice
talk
ride
about.
after.
Yeah.
That is such a colossal disappointment that I'm just like, well, that's disappointing because I won't even fight against it because my friend hates this character, but I'm like, when that shit happens, I'm just like,
Well,
man,
this is why, again, to each their own persona because you can play each one to get whatever kicks that you like in a story.
And the only
Ronald, put this in
persona
your
that
stream
does,
rules.
and need to understand that, and everyone needs to understand that Persona 1 doesn't exist. There's only Persona 2,
one.
And 2
Persona
is the one
2,
with the cool
2.
Hitler.
Yeah. Persona 2, Part 1 and 2, and then there's Persona 3, then Persona 4, then Persona 5. There's no
See,
Persona 1, it doesn't exist.
It's like
Fuck you.
Ultra Fight the Kanto
See,
too.
for as much as
There
people
is
like,
no one.
so for as much people shit on Persona 1, I actually like the dungeon crawling aspect of it and like some of its battle system. But I know that it dates for a lot of people, and I can understand people not liking it at all.
Right,
No,
rewind
you
though.
need to
Tim, what did you
understand,
say
I like
earlier?
Megami Tensei.
You need to add to your stream rules, rule number 4, you're allowed to like whatever persona you like.
Yeah,
I-
no,
I
and
need to
I
write
get
that
that.
down.
Mark
Because
is
we
best
have a
mark, I'm gonna
persona
put that out
discussion
there.
every stream.
We really do.
But yeah.
We need to do a podcast for it.
I mean, I'd be down for a Shin Megami Tensei podcast.
I'll talk about Tokyo Mirage Sessions.
In fact, well, I
I'll
would
tell
want
you
you to
what,
talk about
though.
it, but I don't want you to spoil it because I still want to play it.
I
Tell
do
you
want to
what,
play
though,
Tokyo
Alice
Mirage.
is a bunch of dumb assholes thinking like we're gonna charge $50 for Nocturne for like a half-ass remaster port, but then you're gonna turn
Yeah.
around and
Wait,
charge
so it
me
actually did get
$20 for Golden.
I didn't even know
Yeah.
it got ported.
Dude,
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
it,
it got ported recently.
ported. It's a half-ass remaster, honestly.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, no, I
People
like
love Nocturne.
a lot of things that I'm hearing is it's one of the best versions, but it should be better if they want to charge $50 fucking
Yeah.
for it.
It's a good
Also-
like port, but it is not worth the price.
Stay away from the Switch version.
No,
Well, yeah, if you
Oh.
want to play anything with
They
decent power, you
managed,
do
they
other things.
managed to fuck the frame rate up on that game.
Gosh dang it.
I mean, I played Bloodstained on the Switch, so my standards are fairly low.
God help you.
But I
why?
guess all the Persona talk
It
kind of
was
segues
fun.
into finishing your list because number 5 was Persona 3.
But yeah,
Okay.
sorry about that. I didn't mean to go on. So
No,
my
no, no,
bad.
no.
About
Listen,
Persona
we're
does.
talking about Persona.
Yeah, normally I'd let y'all go to freaking town, but I need to wrap this up anyway.
Okay.
You
So what's
too.
the rest of
Everybody
your
else are
list?
going to bed.
Number 4, Gods Will Be Watching.
What's the name of the game?
It's like a TV
Yes.
show.
That sounds super ominous.
As it is.
It is fucking amazingly ominous. Here's a little fun statistic. Keep all of the hostages alive. 9.9% of players have this achievement.
That's concerning.
Well, okay, not okay. Achievements always have low obtain rate because people get a game and then don't finish it.
Well,
Yeah,
it's
but
funny
still,
you say
this-
that, but achievements can say something about a person a little bit.
They can say that
Um,
about a player base a bit.
Well,
No,
I
I'm-
want to give the benefit
I'm
of
saying
the
about the
doubt
player base.
that
People like literally, like you have achievements that are literally handed out upon completing the tutorial. of the
I
game.
will also state
40%
that
of players
let
have
me-
this achievement.
It's like, what? So
Listen,
then you assume of that
listen, let me
40%,
also
only this
point out
many
that
did the other thing.
Let me also point out that the 9% achievement is the third most achieved achievement in this game.
the frick.
Number 1 is 15% of players didn't use the break room.
So now I want to see the context of the gameplay of this game.
Okay,
Yeah, I need a lot more
Gods-
context.
Gods Will Be Watching is a game where you take through several episodic little things. Each one has with slight gameplay shifts. Each one will have consequences for the next section. The first one is a hostage negotiation where you are playing the role like you are a spy in the ranks of a quote-unquote terrorist organization. And it's a minigame of having to keep the hostages not scared, make sure that they're not confident enough, and make sure that the cops don't fucking kill you. You can kill the hostages to instantly instill fear in the rest of the hostages. Which is why there's a 9.9% rate of people who don't kill the hostages.
Gosh.
Now, The next section, if I remember correctly, is one where you're getting tortured. If you fuck it up, your friend will die. And he will be removed from every sequential sequence. He'll just be gone. Each section, there's a chance that somebody you know or talk to can die. Each one will affect the next.
Y'all here playing Fire Emblem freaking classic mode. Gosh dang it.
Oh no, and you need to understand, it's really easy to fuck up. It's really easy to fuck up. In fact, the game expects you to. There's no, like... Yeah. There are achievements for getting certain characters all the way to the end. And the game does reward you for more players, for the more characters that you have. But, weirdly, there's a section where you all have to survive in winter, where it punishes you for having tons of characters alive.
Oh, because they run out of supplies.
You run out of supplies real quick, yeah. So, that's actually not even getting into the big spoilers.
Which I guess,
So-
for the sake of intrigue, we can avoid. What's your next
Yeah.
game then?
Let's see. Lobotomy Corporation.
Wait,
Ooh.
what?
That's
Good
some New Vegas shit.
Lobotomy Corporation's a good game.
It is a fucking wonderful game. Think SCP, but you're playing as a manager.
You manage the facility that's containing and analyzing and holding the SCPs.
Now, understand that each of the anomalies has a rule. If
Yep.
you break that rule, shit goes south. And as you study the anomaly, you will understand its rules, both in-game and out-of-game. It is a very in-depth and very complicated system, and I love it to bits. And there's a lot of stuff that, like, is supposedly bonus, but will actually help you. There's a lot of things that will temporarily hinder you, but once you get through them, they'll help. So, after that, are 2 walking simulators. Number 2, Beginner's Guide.
For some reason, I thought it was Beginner's Guide to the Galaxy or some shit like that. That one movie.
The
With,
prequel to Hitchhikers.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I just thought about that movie as soon as I heard that phrase.
It is, for lack of better words, a game where you play through somebody's demos, whereas a narrator starts to tell you about what's going on. Other than that,
This was the
It
game by
would
the
be
Stanley
spoiler.
Parable guy, right?
yes. I recommend you keep yourself absolutely blind if you play this. If you look up anything, it will ruin the magic. It is a phenomenal game. So just understand that just about anything will ruin it. Now, number 1 is a very simple option. What Remains of Edith Finch?
Yep.
That's a good watch.
Remains of Edith Finch is very good.
Because if we're talking about games stories, I kind of have to remove a lot of RPGs, frankly, because they're sort of weakened by being RPGs. You know, the fact that there's often dissonance between starting up combat and, you know, dramatic scene.
Are you talking about like the pacing?
Yeah. Sometimes the pacing is ruined.
We need to get to this place quickly and save them! Oh, we're doing 40 minutes of battles.
Yeah. Or
My only problem when pacing comes into an issue is when it feels like it should have ended, but it just keeps going. That's the real mood killer for me.
There are a ton of RPGs that get pacing wrong, so having that be
Yes.
an inherent flaw is understandable.
yeah, which is also why, again, like, Persona 3 is mostly there because of nostalgia. But, yeah.
Yeah, I'm only gonna say this, but Jotaro shot his gun before that was even popular, okay? so I don't want to hear none of this bullshit. I'm just kidding. Just being stupid.
Jotaro? Wait,
Yeah,
which
from
game
part-
are you talking?
I'm talking about.
I
I'm
was
talking
gonna
about.
say, are you really about
JoJo's
to
Bizarre-
do the Persona is just JoJo's memes all over again?
Yeah, a little bit.
Gosh dang it. But
Shin Megami Tensei as a series had the idea first, and
I don't know
the
how.
real best thing.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I just know it's an ongoing meme regardless, but I don't actually know how old the Shin Megami.
Well, I meant Persona 3 shooting yourself in the head, because technically, if you
Jotaro did that. Yeah, I
the
understand.
freaking.
I'm just being I'm being dumb about it. But anyways,
Yeah. Tim,
Um,
what's the wait? What?
what's up, Ronald?
Oh, I was gonna say, Tim, what's the rest of your list?
Alright. So, the rest of my list. My number 4 is a repeat to one of MCM's. It's Chrono Trigger.
Oh, sick. There we go.
MCM talked about it briefly, about how great the character development is and how good the overall story is. The game's great. I want to talk
tasty.
about 2 specific things in it. One, there is no fluff in Chrono Trigger. So
Yeah, I
on
was
the
about
topic
to
of
say,
pacing and
yes.
dissonance, there is not a single moment in Chrono Trigger where
It
you
just
are not
goes.
doing a plot thing that ties to the overall goal of stopping Lavos. No matter what happens for the entire plot, you don't meet characters because you figure, hey, why not explore? You meet characters on the way to stop Lavos. You don't fight people just cause. You fight people because, as far as you know at the time, they're involved with the summoning of Lavos, or they're involved with trying to bring Lavos about, or they're giving power to Lavos, or they know something about Lavos, or no matter what, there's no filler in the plot at all. The entire thing is centered around a goal, and everything moves in favor of it. It is
And
no fluff, no extra, perfect.
now I would also like to raise something up. There are sequences where it's proven you didn't know what was actually going on.
Yep.
And I think that's great.
That's the
Like,
other thing
the
I wanted to
impact
say with
of,
Chrono
like-
Trigger.
Like the impact of we were wrong, what the fuck happened?
The biggest thing I wanted to say for that was the other part, is how much Chrono Trigger does a very great job of telling a story through proper narrative devices, such as information revealed to the player at the same time it's revealed to the characters. You aren't doing things that like you, the player, would know, because it turns out you were wrong in some cases. There are actions you take because you think you're in the right or that you should do, but they end up being different, or you have the wrong opinion. There's a couple parts where characters have way different like motivations than you expected, or you assume things and it doesn't go well. Like, it's a
Yes.
very well written story.
And can I also just point out, and I know this is not a spoiler at all, but the fucking opening and the trial sequence.
The trial
I
is
love
a
that.
beautiful.
And I love the fact that you can do it perfectly. Like, you get a bunch of rewards for being a good person.
Yep.
That was awesome.
Don't lie. I
almost got not guilty on my first try. I was like,
I
fuck.
got not guilty 5-2. And the 2 that didn't trust me was because I was wrong and said I did a thing even though I didn't. But yeah, Chrono Trigger's amazing. Fantastic game. By the way, very short game. It's like, for an RPG with a major plot and several characters and several story beats, it's like under 20 hours.
Because it gets to the point.
It was
Which is
designed for
beautiful.
replayability.
I would also, sorry, if we're going in that, a recommendation from an RPG perspective, and don't worry, this is not another depressing one, or as depressing. God, Suikoden 2.
Suikoden? Very good.
I have some of those games. I just never bothered with them.
And I'm being very specific. Suikoden 2, not
Yes.
1. But,
Yes.
yeah.
2 is very well regarded. But basically everything you've heard that's good about Chrono Trigger is good for a reason. Games loved, it's good, blah blah blah. Number 3.
And, sorry.
No.
I was just going to add, I fucking love that Suikoden has a, Suikoden 2 has a mechanic of if you're walking on roads, monsters attack you less.
It makes sense. Stay in the path.
Yeah.
Alright. So number 3. This is kind of my cop-out answer for one of my honorable mentions. Because I said I couldn't pick a favorite of the Zero Escape series. I do have a favorite Zero Escape game. It's the Somnium Files. It is a separate game, not at all tied to that series by the same developer, but it has a lot of the same charm. And the Somnium Files is a fantastic game. I
never heard of
adore
it.
The point of the shtick to the Somnium Files is you are a detective who gets to go into what's called the Somnium, which is a person's dreamlike state where you can access memories.
Yeah, somnium, somber,
Yes.
sleep.
And so the point is, you're trying to solve a murder mystery with like a repeat serial killer that doesn't add up with other factors. And at several points in the game, you're entering people's memories and entering people's dreams to get information, deal with dream state-like entities. It's fantastic. The narrative is very well done. The characters are incredible. It handles a lot of topics very well. And above all else, like, it's just phenomenal from start to finish. I love every bit of it. Everything that I like in the Zero Escape games is in it, and it doesn't have any of the things I have problems with. If I will type it in Discord to make it easier to spell, because it is a funky title. But as in AI, the Somnium Files. It's on like 3 different things. It's very good. I think it's on PlayStation, Switch, and PC. I recommend it heavily. If you think $60 is a big price tag, I will say it's worth it. It's phenomenal.
Joke's on you, $15 is a big price tag for me.
Haha. If it goes on sale, buy it. But yeah, Somnium Files, amazing. Love that game. Everything I love about Zero Escape is in that game, but better. My number 2. This is going to be probably the weirdest game in my list, and one of the more intricate ones for me to explain. And honestly, I'm not the most depressing or sad guy. I like my happy, my upbeat stuff. My number 2 is I have no mouth, and I must scream.
Yes!
This was originally a sci-fi short story by Harlan Ellison. It is what invented grimdark. It is what invented sci-fi grimdark of hopeless, bleak, nothing future. And when he wanted to follow up his short story, he followed it up by making a video game. Initially, when he worked with the studio to make this game, they didn't want it to be winnable. To fit the theme of the game, he said, the point of the game should not be to win, it should be to lose less.
Yes.
And they do eventually put a good ending in the game, but it is hard to find. The entire point of the game is that there's an AI that hates. It hates everything. It hates all. It hates humanity with every fiber of its being. And it has 5 humans that it's got kept alive after it wiped out humanity, that it keeps alive and just toys with and torments for over 108 years. And the point of the game is he gives all 5 of them unique torments to play with them. He tries to break their psyche. The point of the game is you can do what AM expects you to do and fall to your weaknesses, or you can rise above and do better, and AM doesn't know what to do with that. It catches him off guard. So it's a game about trying to find your humanity and find your hope in nothingness and rise above your flaws and your weakness in face of everything.
Now,
And
here's a weird thing
so
that
good.
I want to bring up. The German version is unwinnable.
is what?
The German version is unwinnable.
Yep.
Because
I-
one of the examples of human filth that he had
Nimda.
is a literal.
It's a Nazi
is a
scientist.
literal- Yep. So they had to skip the entire section during the German version of it because
And
sharing-
Nimdok's section is required to win the game.
Yep. For the winning sequence, you
Yep,
need to
because
have
you need
Nimdok.
him to put the password in, because he's the only one who knows it.
So
But the biggest
Uh.
thing to me of what makes this game so interesting is just the way it uses a game to do a story that was so crazy, and the way it's designed. It is not designed as a game very well. There are so many flaws in terms of game design, but it's all for the sake of narrative, and its narrative is immensely compelling because of it. I adore the way this game handles its topics of humanity and the
Also,
way these characters have to find hope in the face of nothing. It's
now
incredibly compelling.
here's the funniest part to me. If you didn't know, the lead writer to the game, which is also who wrote the short story, never touched a computer during the game's development.
He didn't.
He's fucking scared to death of computers, so he didn't touch it once.
He wrote all his stuff on paper.
And then it was translated into the game.
And then, most importantly, Harlan Ellison himself, when he was working on the game, didn't trust any voice actor to voice the AI. He did not think any of them would properly know how to handle it. He himself voices Am. And the opening monologue of that game is one of my favorite monologues in the history of ever.
Now,
And it's all about one word. Hate.
Now, this is somebody who I have I know the short story. I have not played the game. I am aware of the game. I adore what it's going for. And I love the original short story's ending.
I think you would love the game. You should play it. It's right up your alley.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, just looking at my list.
But yeah, like, this is the one crazy game that's in my list, but it's because of how well it does it.
Yeah, we like them because they're interesting, and sometimes it's good to commiserate with something.
Usually
than
I'm
have
not into
something happy.
sadness. I would rather be happy. But that's why I like this game. It's because even though it has such dark, depressing things in it, a big theme of it is the ability to rise above it.
It's also hopeful. Like,
Yep. It's about
It's-
finding that hope in the middle of nothing.
and
it's way
I'd
better
also
at it
have
than
to say
Danganronpa
it's.
is.
I'd also have to say it's more about. It's also human resilience.
Yep.
Which I'd also give to the game Agony, especially the uncut version.
Yep.
That is raw human resilience.
So yeah. I adore this game because it's a fantastic use of old 90s technology for a point and click to tell one of the most compelling stories I've ever seen. And with characters I
it's-
love to this day.
And it's so human.
So, what's my number one then over this, if I'm going to gush about this game for so long? My number one is my favorite game of all time. And that's Final Fantasy VI.
Okay.
Final Fantasy VI. This is a hard game to talk about without just gushing. Because the entire point of Final Fantasy VI compared to every other Final Fantasy is character. It doesn't
Is
have
that
a
the one
main
where you can
character.
suplex a train?
Yes. Final Fantasy VI does not have a main character. Throughout the story, there are several times where the party splits and you can pick whoever. The game asks you who your main character is, pretty much, and you can pick whoever you want, who your favorites are. And in the same vein, after a certain point in the game, it becomes more open, and you can find any of the characters you've had and examine their stories more. And because of that, it tries to be very personal. Because a big part of Final Fantasy VI is there's a major tragedy in the middle of the game that everyone has to react to. And some people process it in different ways. Some people say, that's it, I need to get better so this doesn't happen again. Some people go, this is it, I give up. You've got everything in between. And you've got their interactions with each other, you've got the way they band together to other conflicts. Like, every character in Final Fantasy VI is like a full-fledged leaps and bounds person. And you pick your story arcs, pick your favorites, and there's always going to be someone you'll relate to at least a little bit. It's kind of like how I've said, like, everyone I know who played Katao Shoujo said, like, oh yeah, I felt something. For me personally, Final Fantasy VI did that with several characters in a lot of ways. So it's definitely a biased number one choice for me. It's why it's my favorite game of all time. But it's because, like, the way it tells such compelling, like, way people interact and process and handle these things, just, it gets me. I will
Meanwhile,
like
my
forever
favorite
cry
game is,
in a Super Nintendo game soundtrack because of it.
Meanwhile, my favorite game is resting on the fifth spot. Because frankly, I can separate the nostalgia. It's because of close emotional attachment. I also know that, yeah, P3 is not the greatest, but it's one of my favorites.
And 6 is not the greatest Final Fantasy either, but I cannot deny how much just it personally means to me, which is why I had
have
to put it
not
number
played
one.
6. It's been on my list, but then again, most of the Tales of series is, so...
And that takes a lot of time.
Oh god, I love Tales. Like, now, not to get too into this argument, but I think Tales of is kind of what Final Fantasy could have been.
I can see
in
it.
my opinion. Like, I prefer it more, but I can see why people like Final Fantasy more. And frankly, I like the turn-based style, but I also like the world and combat of Tales of better, even down to one of the scenes that got me in Tales of was I was playing one of the games literally takes place in the same place as another one, but it's centuries later. So like the brand new temple that you went into
is now like an old ruin.
Yes, it's an old ruin in the other one.
That's
and
amazing.
Like the brand new city is like this ancient city of the old ones, and it's just like, this is so fucking cool.
That's kinda I like when games do that.
It's just so much fun, and even down to and in one of the one with and the one that you're playing in the first game, in the first of the two games, you're actually playing the dead opposite role that you're playing in the second one. Like the first one, you're the fucking Lord of Calamity. You're the demon that's killing, you're the big monster that's supposed to ruin cities. And in the second one, you're the savior of the world. So it's just like, you're literally playing the dead opposite role. It's just funny as hell to me. Sorry.
So, that's my list. Everyone in my place has gone to bed, so I might have to dip out now. So...
Oh, shit.
Thanks everyone for having me.
Thank you for having me. Thanks for being
Bro,
here.
gotta say, been a while since I talked with you, and I forgot how fun you are to hang out with. We have great discussions. I like hanging out with you in these streams.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for
I
chilling.
like hanging out with you too.
Have a good one, everyone. I'll check out the VOD or the YouTube to see everyone else's favorites. I'm sorry for my one depressing game in the middle of happy and fun games.
Don't worry.
Well, I mean,
It's
if you're
good, I promise.
apologizing for that, I apologize for my continued existence because my entire goddamn list is fairly depressing.
Have a good one, everyone. Play Deadly Premonition if you need one of those 5 to play. It's the funniest one.
What about the sequel?
I haven't finished it. Don't start
You
the
know-
sequel first. It will spoil you immediately.
Alright, let's start the sequel, boys.
Good night, everyone.
I will also state that the fact that Bloodstained Ritual of the Night is the happiest on this list should tell you something.
Jesus.
Gosh, dang it.
I need to get back to playing more of that game.
Nick,
It is so much fun! All the little, bad endings, yeah, no, I got the true ending, and, I'm on New Game Plus on the Switch that is now dead.
Well, I need to go through Rondo of Blood and Symphony first before I do that.
I'm gonna
I
talk
have
less, so
not
Nick,
played-
Go through your list. I'll go through mine
You do realize that Ritual of the Night is the first game, right?
Oh wait, what have you said wrong though? Sorry.
Well, I'm gonna be trying to talk less, so I'm gonna put my list silently. Nick, you can go ahead and talk about your list, and we'll wrap things up.
Yeah. Hi. Okay. Listed thingies.
Are you-
Things that are listed.
Oh my god.
I am finding my list. Tabs change, please. Alright. Ow! Okay, I'm here. Number 3. And this game. Okay. Okay, let me get myself up off the couch and actually be awake. Hi.
Hi, Nick.
I am back. Alright, number 3 for me is a game.
Holy shit.
Well, probably.
It's a video game in this list? What are you thinking?
Ronald probably had a feeling this might show up on my list. But it's definitely a game that the further I get away from my playthrough with it, the more and more I'm like, yeah, that game's really fucking good. But yeah, number 3 is Nier Automata.
Cool. What's it called? I need to get through Nier PS3 first before I even touch that game.
Not really.
No, I want to. That's the thing.
I mean, if it's your own prerogative, sure. But
It's my holdup because I started that game and that game is it's super fun and I like Ugly Bastard Dad more than Pretty Boy Dad in Replicant, but that's neither here nor there. But besides the point, no, I just want to get to that game because that game had a really good world structure and everything. But go on.
it's just. Hi, I'm back yet again. The headset fell off.
Oof.
But the
I'm
game,
back again.
the game
Sad to hear
story
about that.
definitely isn't one I should talk about too much to not spoil.
I
Because it is
fucking love
Yoko
all the
Taro.
endings.
We're talking about Yoko Taro, so like, he's gonna pull some shit on you. So yeah, get your
Literally or
story.
figuratively.
Yeah. But
He's literally going to walk down up to your house, kick down your door, and pour bullshit all over your head. Is that what you're saying?
I think that's what Esteban's implying.
Come on, he literally was trying to take one of his employees' shirts off. He would be the type of madman to fucking, as well as just roll around in it.
God.
Okay. I'm sorry, but I remember seeing an official fucking ad on a wiki that was for the newest Nier Automata game. That was just somebody wearing the moon head and pointing at their crotch, while the fucking price tag of the game flashed on screen.
Yeah, that's Yoko Taro. That's the man himself doing it. That was the man himself.
Fucking stupid.
God bless him.
So like, yeah, but like the game's story is like really interesting, and that it is left kind of for interpretation actually at some point.
I love that you're. I love your number one, bro. I'm sorry.
I hear some people saying that they don't think that some characters behave natural at some points in the plot, and that weighs down the plot for them.
Well,
But
that's
to a point,
they're
I think-
robots.
Well, that, and I think that you have to interpret their actions and decisions, and you have to be able to kind of look beyond, like I don't know, you can think about like the interactions between the characters in this game quite a lot on your own time, and like realize like things that like, it's like, oh, this seems illogical from like one point of view, like you're like, why would this person do this? But then you have to, the game makes you think about like whether someone's like, whether the characters are acting rationally, whether they know they are. I don't know. It's just hard to describe this game, but I think that the story makes sense when you think about it, the characters, because a lot of, yeah. Anyway, I'm just, long way of saying that a lot of people give this game crap with, well, some people, a lot of people love this game.
I know a
Some
friend of
few
mine-
people give this game crap because of the feeling that the characters aren't logical at points, but I feel like characters are more complex than just acting on logic alone, is what you have to come into this game with to appreciate it fully.
No, they're not just robots. They have full fucking emotions, and sometimes emotions get in the way of logical processing. I mean,
But let's not linger on that too much longer.
no, I'm also just saying you can even possibly see that in the opening sequence, and that's all I'm going to say.
For what it's worth, Nick, I would put way more time into that game than try another hour or so in Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
Yeah, but yeah, I also like the fact that this game really does, like, even when you're playing through the game, like notoriously in this game, some people say the game only really starts after you've beaten it twice. So there's that.
Well, yeah. Correct.
I mean, that's just how the different routes and endings these games go. But like, the game literally, like, it forces you into the idea of looking at the events of the game from different perspectives and reanalyzing things you thought you knew or didn't know, and just reapproaching parts of the story over and over again to really judge whether you understood it or not. And sometimes you don't know, even after getting shown different perspectives and different things, you still don't know exactly what is really being presented to you. And that's a really interesting thing. Just, the game was definitely set up in a way where you're supposed to have to think about the game, whether it's the game making you by showing you new information of the things you've seen before, or if it is that, you know, like me, like 3 months later after playing, or 2 months later after playing the game, you're still thinking about parts of this story and still going back and watching YouTube videos about of the cutscenes to try to think about how things piece together and think about the characters' motivations and stuff like that. It's not a perfect story, but like, I think that it's a lot more dynamic than a lot of media is, and I give it a lot of points for that. I like games that
Make you think?
yeah, and that's gonna be very tied to the next, well, I'd say my number one pick. Maybe not so much number two. Number two is pretty straightforward, which I guess I'll move forward to. Portal 2 is my number two. Again, as with Sonic Adventure 2, it's not necessarily the most convoluted story in the world, which, I mean, I love convoluted stories too, as seen with Nier, and what my number one pick will be. Like, I'm a sucker for convoluted stories. Portal 2 is what I feel is still, to this day, possibly the ideal form of a video game, marrying gameplay to narrative.
I can see that.
Portal 2 is like, whereas a lot of games, from the beginning of my list, as I said, like, oh, it's cheating to go out of the way and make a separate visual novel mode to your game, almost to have to convey your story. Whereas that's what most fighting games do, is it's like, okay, we're coming out of the game, and you're watching a cutscene, or you're watching Portal 2, I don't think has maybe 2 cutscenes that still are like seamless to gameplay. It's just like control. You can't control your character or anything during that.
Oh yeah, no, I understand what you're referring to.
In Portal 2, the story is literally told as you are walking around in a sensible way that makes sense in the world, which is like with GLaDOS over the PA system or whatnot. Like,
And not to mention GLaDOS's continual presence makes the game not feel as empty, as well as it is a good part of the story.
yeah,
And it's fun to interact with her.
and it's very much also a game where it's not necessarily that it's lore you have to put together, whereas you made a point of saying that, oh, games where it's reliant on lore to be what you're piecing together for the story. It's like with Portal 2, you actively, while you're playing the game, define the lore by exploring, and then that goes to backbone your understanding of the story and what's going on. And like the story's not too deep again, but like the game moves at a good pace. It's not too long, not too short, and just the story's fun and does a lot to push along the gameplay. Both the gameplay and the story go hand in hand to create this experience in a way that I don't think really many other games do. But yeah, what
By the way, what song is playing?
is Ronald typing?
Oh, can you hear that? I'm sorry.
Instead of talking about
Fucking, it's my sister. Hold on.
No, if it's the very haunting sounding cover of, like, it sounds like Greenleaf, and then you're completely fine.
but
I wouldn't know what she's listening to be quite honest.
Ooh, Ronald right now what the playlist is?
Oh, near it. Okay.
This is near
Oh, you're talking about the bot. Never mind. I'm silly. I thought you could hear that shell away from me. I was like, no, please.
But yeah, Portal 2, I just feel like for how well the plot works as a vehicle for the gameplay, and the gameplay works as a vehicle for the plot, it's just the no other game I feel like comes close to as seamless of an experience between both. But yeah, moving on to my number one, which shouldn't be too surprising if you've known me, especially when I took visual novels out of the list up front. Metal Gear Solid 2.
Oh, MG2.
We have 4 here, but Metal Gear Solid 2 is my choice.
Pretty Gucci.
I mean, I find it interesting that MCM put Metal Gear Solid 4. Which, I mean, Metal Gear Solid 4 is as far as closing out, a kind of trilogies, because MGS3 is definitely detached from 1 and 2. Like 1, 2, and 4 is kind of a trilogy in its own right. So, Metal Gear Solid 4 is a pretty solid conclusion to a trilogy.
But
Better than whatever fucking mess 5 turned out to be.
5 wasn't even a mess. It's just that it's like
Narratively, it's a
like
mess.
it's like
in
you
my
walk
opinion.
into no, it's not even a mess. It's that you walked into the room where you're like, all right, let's see what the narrative is, and you're like, there's some crumbs on the floor. You're like, wait, what? Is that it?
You know what? I can
is
see
what
that's a
MGS
better,
is.
it's a better way to look at it, probably.
It's like, where is the plot? I was told there was. It's right there. You mean these crumbs? Yeah, that's the plot, man. But
What
look
about
at the gameplay,
Skullface?
though.
Who?
But look at the gameplay, man. I'm like, oh shit, this is pretty good gameplay. What's this plot? No, just come into the other room. Come into this room. This room has the gameplay. But I wanted to go into this room. I wanted to see the narrative you were talking about. No, just come in here. Just enjoy the gameplay, man. Just don't worry about that. That's Metal Gear Solid 5.
Oh my god, who's the guy on fire? I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, 4 is solid. I mean, 1 is really good too, especially for what I accomplished on PS1. But 2, like, I feel like 2 really is the best narrative in this series, especially when it comes to the meaning behind the story and like the subtexts and the just overall themes of the story. Like, it goes a step beyond Metal Gear Solid 1 by using Metal Gear Solid 1 as a stepping stone and backbone for its
I
story.
honestly say even a like kickboard.
What do you mean, huh?
I mean, it doesn't just use it as a stepping stone; it fucking propels itself way above it.
Yeah, like
Eh?
with the background
It's a
of Metal Gear
springboard.
Solid. Yeah, with Metal Gear Solid 1's background, it plays off of that game's overall pretty linear story in comparison, and then it just goes ham at like trying to interweave with it and use it as the established universe for it to do something really great in how it plays with the characters. So,
Well,
yeah.
not to mention the opening sequence is fucking iconic.
Well, and like, yeah, and then beyond that, like, just I mean, oh boy, spoilers that of like, oh boy, you're playing as Raiden, not Snake.
Holy shit! You mean that I am not playing as Solid as Snake, or whatever the fuck? I don't know. There's like 50 different snakes. I don't fucking understand anymore.
Never mind. I'm not gonna get into the specifics. There's Liquid, Solid, and Solidus, but that's all the.
And a big boss.
As far as the main ones you're concerned, it's just Solidus, Solid, and Liquid. There's a reason behind Solidus.
And Naked Snake, but
And Naked
that's
Snake.
not-
But yeah, he's just the big daddy.
He's just the father, basically.
Pretty much.
But like Metal Gear Solid 2, what it does, like especially as I said, like clearing up with Raiden is like, but the interactions between Snake and Raiden, that I feel like sets up Metal Gear Solid 2 to be able to make some of the like best messages and narrative in the series to a point, because you have Snake not in the player role. That I feel like Snake can be a really powerful character to Raiden, especially at the end of the game. The interactions between Snake and Raiden as the game progresses just really does add a layer of character to the series that, like, I don't think you can get when it's just Snake. Like, the game basically has two protagonists at once, but with Snake being more mysterious and at times.
Yeah, and that is honestly, yeah, it's a super cool interaction to see the previous playable character go into more of a mentor role. And while he's still plot relevant, he's not as. Or yeah, no, it's really fun to see their interaction.
Yeah, just what they do between them is like some of the best plot in the series, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, you can argue, and then you can argue what Raiden becomes later in the series. Like, if you agree with that direction after, like, that is one of the complaints of Metal Gear Solid 4, is that some people don't agree with the direction Raiden went after Metal Gear Solid 2.
Oh, because he wanted to not be. He didn't want to fight anymore, but then he still keeps on fighting.
Yeah, I think that's overall the gist of it, is that people felt like the
Not
character
to men-
deserved his closure, but
I mean, if
Not to
people have a
mention
problem
he
with
had
that,
a really he had a fun but really terrible spin-off game.
well,
Right?
Oh, right.
it's been
Revenge.
terrible.
I
Revenge is
love
just-
the shit out of Revengeance, even though it pretty much destroyed that thing of like, oh man, looks like he won't go back to his wife and kids anymore.
Wait, that's not even. But one thing to know is that Revengeance comes after MGS4, and
Yeah.
canonically.
Oh, so it's not canon?
Yeah, Revengeance is uncanonically after 4.
I mean, even if
okay.
it was or wasn't, I still thought it was a pretty
Please-
kick-ass game.
Please note my wording. It is a wonderfully horrible game. Like, it is fun as hell, but it is awful. You know what I mean?
Over the top in its
It
story.
is so bad, but it's so fantastic.
I mean,
I swear to God, it's almost the room of, like, Metal Gear Solid games.
I don't even know what that. Is it just like the
I don't-
story of it that you feel like does that?
I mean, everything's so over the top, but it's fun.
Well, okay, so you
And-
see what
Yeah,
it is.
but like,
you
there's
see what
nothing
it
fun
is.
about the room, though.
You see what it is? It's not the room. It's Speed Racer. The 2008 Speed Racer movie.
Oh,
Okay.
that movie
Yeah.
got lambasted so hard.
But it's like I love the Speed Racer 2008 movie, by the way. For complete context, I love that movie to pieces. That is one of my favorite
Oh no,
movies of
I'm
all
saying
time.
that I love the game to bits. It's just
Yeah.
horrible.
It's just that it's like it's so over the top and eccentric with like everything Revengeance does. It's like, man, this senator is going crazy. Like, man, this is also over the top in the most unrealistic way. This is so unbelievable. But that's how Speed Racer is. It's like, well, am I supposed to believe it? Or am I supposed to just accept the fact that this is a universe founded in a family who drives cars whose last name is Racer and named their son Speed? Maybe I just throw my concept of realistic away and just enjoy what I'm in the driver's seat for. Passenger seat for, rather.
Man,
Yeah.
I love Senator
Which is-
Armstrong so much. He's like one of my favorite villains.
It's the definition of guilty pleasure. It's like, throw away all my better judgment of like, man, this is so
Yeah,
unrealistic.
that's
And
exactly
then
what
you
I'm.
just,
Yeah.
you just stop letting that hinder your enjoyment of the product.
Oh
And
yeah,
that's what-
yeah, no. Same thing like that. Yeah, Speed Racer, and I'd also say Dragon Ball is on that same category. Like, it is so fucking stupid, but it's fun.
I wish I could feel that about Dragon Ball nowadays. I just don't.
Yeah.
Although I still do think that Speed Racer is more than that. I feel like with Speed Racer, all you really need to do is look beyond the fact, like, yeah, we get it. The things don't make sense in a realistic scenario, but toss your perception of reality out the window and accept the fact you're looking at a reality where, yeah, this kid is named Speed Racer. It's zany, and this villain, he's over the top. Like, guess what? A Saturday morning cartoon villain, which is what he's supposed to be.
Where the audience goes, ah, ooh, ee.
Oh fuck yes. Okay. I will say, however, I watched the Timmy Turner like parody of it before I watched the actual show, though. Or sorry, Fairly Odd Parents parody.
Oh, yes.
Wait, for what? Sea Racer?
Yeah,
They had-
you didn't
okay.
know that there was a.
What,
It was in
Fairly Odd
there
Parents
was
had
an,
was a
Are you
special
talking about
where they went through TV.
the channel
TV
surfing
special.
episode?
Yeah,
House
yeah.
Movie.
No. Oh, yeah, the channel surf special.
Yeah, movie, yeah. Thing.
Well, the one I consider the movie, quote unquote, is the one where Timmy gets the cupcake that makes like any wish he wants.
Okay. By the way, channel
Can we also
long thing.
talk about how Timmy is canonically like 60?
What
am
would give
not
you that
like-
idea?
There was like a few episodes that basically confirmed that he continuously wished to be forever young and nothing to change. And so technically the movie, like that one Drake and like guy who played Drake movie broke that. So
Oh, you talking about when Drake Bell played Timmy in the movie?
but I'm also saying that canonically there's one where he basically wished to be eternally youthful and wished to take away their memory, if I remember correctly. Meaning that technically speaking, Timmy has Ash syndrome of just like perpetually being very young.
Nice.
What's it called? I mean, I guess, but
I'm just saying
going-
it's just fucking funny to me.
But like, because this all stemmed off the Speed Racer. I remember watching certain episodes of Speed Racer, so I could understand the feeling of like how they wanted to make that movie. So I'm like, this works, but you know, people thought differently.
You know, though, hearing about, oh, Peter, Tim is not here anymore. Dang. I was gonna ask him a little bit more about the Somnium files. Shame.
Hmm?
I was gonna say though that Tim mentioning the Somnium files that had me interested because I was looking at that game when it came out, but I heard the people saying that like the gameplay wasn't all that great and stuff. But hearing the story might be up my alley.
I have the No Nari Games collection thing on PS4.
I should play that too.
Nonary Games is great.
You know,
But I've just been slacking off on like visual novel stuff.
on this website for tracking my backlog, and I really do need to fill it out and then just take a good long stare at it until I'm like, yeah, I need to play some fucking games.
Let's see, I've actually been getting through my backlog recently, so. Because what I just beat Sackboy a while ago. I'm going through Miles Morales.
Sackboy, why would you?
Huh? Oh, because I got that for like $25, and when my
Yeah.
friend picked it up eventually, we decided to do multiplayer on that game.
Game causes me physical pain.
What, Sackboy? It's not that bad.
It's another thing like NGS. It's like it doesn't matter if it's a good game or not. It's what it represents.
I'd rather play that game than play LBP because I can't give a shit about the creating aspect. I'll be completely
Well,
honest.
you don't need to create. Like they could literally give you Sackboy as an LBP game where that platforming and stuff was all just the story mode, and then the creative stuff was just a side thing you do completely separate.
Wait, did you play Sackboy's Big Adventure?
No, what I saw it was just a platformer, which is
Yeah.
basically means that it's just little big planets, but without the creative mode.
Well, it's
I
Little Big
should
Planet,
never
but
use
with backing camera rather than left to right.
Well, yeah,
I just never
but,
used
like,
creative.
It's Mario 64 to Mario.
Well, yeah, but still, you can translate a 3D creative tool suite like Dreams.
Oh man.
Hell,
But
you could
Dreams is
literally
a
have
very
made.
fucking
You
different
could
thing.
literally have made. Almost literally have made Sackboy's Big Adventure a story mode for Dreams.
Honestly,
Almost.
I
know
just
the
rather
engines are a
play the
little different.
platforming shit. I don't. Again, to me, I don't care. I never bothered with the creative aspect of those games. That's why it never really appealed to me, and that's also my same prospect when it comes to Mario Maker. I never give a shit about that because I don't have the creative drive for it, nor do I care to seek out the levels for that shit.
Little Big Planet made it really easy to not be creative. Just saying. You just play
Well,
the
yeah, because you
story.
can just download people's other creations.
Not even down. You just you play the story and then you just look for levels that other people made. And
Well, I'm just-
cool experiences.
Well, here's the thing, because
Yeah.
I never flat out bought those games to begin with.
Yeah.
I always knew friends who
But
had it.
are you really saying that if Sackboy's Big Adventure was straight up that game, the entirety of that game was just like a Little Big Planet 4, and that entire game was the story mode, where you're not missing out on anything. That was just a story mode that you literally just go over and say play the story, and you're going through those levels. But then you could come out and you could go to creative mode. You're saying would you have been less likely to buy that game, knowing that it was just Little Big Planet 4?
If they showed me all was the story mode, but then there was a creative aspect to it, is that what you're getting at?
Yeah. Would that have tainted the package for you?
No, honestly, I just got it on a good deal. That's really
Okay.
the juxtaposition of it. It's just I just got it on a good deal. A friend of mine had it. We played it that weekend. I thought it was fun. The online is kind of shit though. Yeah, pretty much.
Alright.
I mean, if we're talking about like games I'm looking
Mine-
forward to, it's Ratchet and Clank. I'm really looking forward to this.
My childhood was spent very big part in Little Big Planet 2 creative mode.
Oh yeah, like I know people love the shit out of that, and that's
Yeah.
great. I never cared for it. Again, like I said, I always.
That's just why it pains me to see Sackboy's Big Adventure, where they're forcibly trying to unmarry Sackboy from the idea. It's like, oh yeah, we like this character, but we don't care at all for anything that his series stands for in the past, and we're just gonna take him as a puppet, literal puppet.
I mean, there's a
what we
reason
need
why
him
it's
to
not
do.
called LPP4, isn't it?
I know, but it's just it feels like a backstab to take the character and